The Traveling Frog, Spending Time in the Marvel Universe. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1, A Thunder Fruit at the Beginning. Frog is traveling. Frog will occasionally send back travel photos, so keep an eye out. Frog will bring back special local products and souvenirs from his trip, so be sure to check them out. August 7th, 2008. Thursday. Big Apple, Chinatown. Amway Treasure House. Mr. By Yi. I've checked the relevant information. When you purchased this building, it was for $7.12 million. I'm offering you the full price of $10 million. A man wearing gold-rimmed glasses, dressed like a lawyer, approached a young man who was basking in the sun on a soft chair at the entrance of the treasure house. Bai Yi leaned against the counter, flipping through a new magazine with a lazy look on his face. I've already said that I bought this building for my retirement, and I'm not selling it. Pharaoh's Birch was helpless. Mr. Bai Yi, this opportunity is truly rare. The real estate company under the Central City Circle Financial Company has taken a fancy to this area and plans to develop it as a whole. That's why they offered such a high price. Otherwise, how could your building appreciate by over 40% in just 1 year? Not for sale. How about this? I'm willing to tell you this, the real estate developer's bottom line is $14 million. How about that? Your room appreciates by 100% in a year. Pharaoh's Birch leaned forward and whispered. Besides, this big capitalist, Bai Yi, was annoyed by him. I'm not selling it, so what the hell can you do? Bite me. Bai Yi had said that, so what else could Pharaoh's Birch do? He could only leave in disgrace. Bai Yi pouted. You don't even dare to bite me, so what right do you have to say you want to buy my building? What a lousy real estate company, so clueless. They sent someone to acquire the company, not even mentioning hiring a beautiful lawyer. If you had hired a beautiful woman to write me a letter, maybe I'd consider it. How is it going? Did that person leave? Aunt May said with a smile, coming out with a cup of hot tea. Her big eyes were smiling, charming, and enchanting, like water shrouding the ground in mist, clear to the bottom. The corners of her small mouth were slightly raised, and her red lips were slightly parted, inviting a kiss. Her skin was like milk, a piece of creamy white jade. Her waist was slender enough to be held in one hand, and her long, slender legs were outlined under her blue jeans. It can be said that my sister's legs are not legs, but the spring water on the banks of the Seine. Her sister's back is not a back, but a Bulgarian rose, and her sister's waist is not a waist, but the scimitar of the murderer. Her name was May Parker, 34 years old. Her husband, Ben Parker, had died of cancer a year earlier, leaving her with only a non-blood-related nephew, Peter Parker. So, shortly after Bai Yi's Amway Treasure House opened, she was recruited as its manager, earning $10,000 a month. Bai Yi nodded. I kicked him out. Perhaps you should consider acquiring him, May said. You've doubled your investment in just 1 year, while our treasure house hasn't made a single sale since it opened. May knew the outrageous prices of the items sold at the treasure house. Nothing on the shelves cost less than $100,000. Straw ring, $500,000. Introduction. If a woman truly loved me, even a ring like this would be happily accepted. The young man from the back alleys of Vermartin, Rusty Greatsword, $1 million. Introduction. Humph. Using this rusty sword against a fellow like you is quite a sign of respect. GSD. Dead leaf blade, $1.5 million. Synopsis. It's said that when a dead leaf butterfly lands on a branch, it transforms into a dead leaf. So, if the dead leaf blade slashes an enemy, will it transform into a young man brimming with imagination? The most terrifying weapon, considered Bai Yi's most valuable weapon, is this soul-splitting blade, $10 billion. Synopsis. Legend has it that this blade was the product of a certain blacksmith's painstaking efforts, his heart shattering when it was forged. Warning, this is a cursed demonic blade. Since its creation, it has drunk the blood of countless people. Its wrath is immense, and none of its owners have met a happy end. It is beyond the control of ordinary people. Aunt May truly couldn't understand what kind of idiot would spend $10 billion on a single blade. He doesn't dare bite me, so why bother with him? Bai Yi reached out and wrapped his arms around Aunt May's slender, elastic waist, burying his face in her bear-like mouth. May, if you bite me, I'll consider your opinion. Stop it, your tea's going to spill. I don't want tea right now. Bai Yi nudged like a little pig. I want milk. Well, milk is more suitable for a growing baby like him. But as for Aunt May, Bai Yi always felt that since she was already a widow, he couldn't let her live a widow's life any longer. Just as Bai Yi and Aunt May were playing around, ding, Frog Boy has brought you a travel souvenir. Please check it out. Thunder fruit, a specialty of the One Piece world, a natural type devil fruit. Upon consumption, it transforms into phantom lightning, rendering physical attacks, most energy attacks, and non-hacky attacks ineffective against the victim. Fuck, Frog Boy, you finally gave me something good, Bai Yi cursed. Don't underestimate the divine artifact, the Soul Rift Blade, but it's a demonic sword. Byakuya tried to wield it once, and the Soul Rift Blade's fury nearly drove him into a murderous madman. So, Byakuya couldn't use it. But the Thunder Fruit was different. As a natural type devil fruit, it naturally grants immunity to physical attacks and most energy attacks, granting Byakuya a degree of immortality. Furthermore, in the pirate world, the Thunder Fruit is considered one of the most invincible devil fruits. In terms of attack power, it's almost as powerful as Akainu's Magma Fruit, and in terms of speed, it's not far behind Kizaru's Phantom Fruit. In Enel's hands, the Thunder Fruit's initial strike could raze an island to the ground. Living in modern society, how far could Byakuya, with some knowledge of electromagnetism, develop the Thunder Fruit? No one knew. Extract the specialty, the Thunder Fruit. Yes, Byakuya didn't hesitate. The next moment, he felt a sinking sensation in his hand, and a pale blue fruit with numerous spikes and spiral patterns appeared in his grasp. Is this a devil fruit? Bai Yi examined it, then, without hesitation, bit down. Ugh, 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 he clenched his throat, his eyes bulging and white, his face veins bulging. I'm dying. May, hurry up and pour me a cup of tea, please. Everyone, you must follow the book. At the end of the latest chapter, there's a number that indicates how many times you've reached the latest chapter. This is an indicator of the book's performance. Don't overread it, please. If this book performs well and gets an average of 1,000 views, I'll update it frequently. Please help the kid. For a profile, please reply to Frog in Group 2. Join us. Chapter 2 Aunt May. Bai Yi wasn't from this world. He'd once been just an ordinary office worker, at best a bit kind-hearted, occasionally helping fallen girls, and a wealth of knowledge, a qualified keyboard politician, keyboard historian, keyboard economist, keyboard biologist, keyboard folklorist, a bit of everything. He'd simply downloaded the popular game Travel Frog to play, but unexpectedly, the game had transformed. His frog could now travel across the universe. If that were all, Bai Yi would have landed a great deal, poised for a promotion, a raise, the title of general manager, the CEO, a wealthy wife, and the pinnacle of life. But Bai Yi never imagined that his frog was different from the others. It had a brain problem. Seriously. While other frogs traveled on their own and brought back all sorts of goodies for their owners, Bai Yi's frog was completely mad and ignored his master's orders. Frog, don't blame me, my brain isn't working. Bai Yi, you talk as if someone is smart. One night, Bai Yi was sleeping, and suddenly, he found himself standing in a new world. He came to the world of Akame no Kirinai, where a war was going on. And then, nothing happened. Bai Yi died, and the reason was, he stood on the battlefield. Fortunately, before Bai Yi died, Frog Boy sent him another prop, Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, from the Dragon Ball world of the Demon world, it has magical powers. Anyone who obtains the Dragon Ball can follow their wishes. The magical power of the Dragon Ball allows them to develop in the direction they want. Martial artists will make great progress in their martial arts after obtaining the Dragon Ball. The lustful and greedy people will get what they want. Bai Yi came back to life just like that. One night, when Bai Yi was sleeping with Queen Esthith in his arms, Frog Boy, who had been running around everywhere, came back and took Bai Yi to another world. He still vaguely remembered that Tokyo was a little hot at that time. With no other options, Byakuya had to find a place to stay temporarily in Tokyo, but he hadn't imagined. His neighbors to the left were the Amamitas, his neighbors to the right were the Akazukis. There was a nearby school called Mizune School, and when he was sick, he went to St. Julian's Hospital. In the days that followed, Byakuya traveled extensively, delivering takeout, fixing plumbers, tutoring, practicing hypnosis, and even working as a fitness trainer. He even nearly fell victim to a curse from some magical item with extraordinary powers. It was a life of hardship. Byakuya was in danger, the cause, kidney failure. Fortunately, Byakuya was promptly transported to the Marvel world by Frog Baby. After a long time, and after rinsing his mouth more than 10 times, Byakuya finally felt alive again. Damn, this tastes like. Never mind, I won't say any more, Byakuya sighed. He opened his palm, and a ball of lightning gathered and formed in his hand. The power of the thunder fruit is indeed quite good. Just then, footsteps sounded behind him. Aunt May made Baiyi another cup of hot tea and said angrily, "How dare you eat fruit of unknown origin? Aren't you afraid of food poisoning, because you're taking care of me?" Baiyi said with a smile. Finally, the nausea brought on by the thunder fruit had almost subsided. Ahem, a few coughs interrupted Baiyi and Aunt May's sweet chat. "Who's there?" Baiyi glanced over impatiently, his brows furrowed. "You again." "Mediterranean." Calson's smile froze. "Mr. Baiyi, good morning," Calson said. "I repeat, my name is not Mediterranean." "Got it, Mediterranean, let's talk. I'm busy, making billions every minute, and I don't have time for your nonsense." Baiyi waved his hand and said. "Okay." Calson was stunned for a moment, helpless, and sat down opposite Baiyi. "I came to see you this time because of something serious. You see," he looked at Aunt May gently. "Can this beautiful lady leave for a while? May, go inside and wait a moment." Baiyi patted Aunt May on the back and said. Aunt May still listened to Baiyi's words when it came to serious matters, and went to the back room as he said. Calson's face became serious, and he said, "Mr. Baiyi, have you heard about the recent videotape murder case? More than 20 students have died. It's the 7-day death curse, right?" Baiyi lit a cigarette for himself and said. "Oh, it seems Mr. Baiyi knows something, a little bit." Baiyi flicked the ash from his cigarette and said, $300,000, $300,000. Calson was surprised. "So much? If it were an ordinary case, would you need to come to me?" Baiyi smiled and said, "I made it clear from the beginning, my fees are very expensive." "Wait a moment, I need to go out and make a call." Calson frowned and stood up. "Go ahead," Baiyi shrugged. A moment later, Calson returned. At the same time, Baiyi's phone vibrated. He took it out and saw that $300,000 had been deposited into his Wells Fargo account. "Mr. Baiyi, can you tell me now?" "No problem." Baiyi took a drag on his cigarette and said, "Mediterranean, do you believe in ghosts?" "Ghosts? I believe you've investigated the strangeness of the case. Anyone who views that tape will die within 7 days. Outsiders can't find any cause and think it was an accident, but it's actually a ghost's curse," Baiyi said. "That undead spirit is called Semla, a vengeful spirit with superpowers, hidden in the tape. Actually, she's nothing to be afraid of. As long as you don't watch that special tape, she won't target you. But if you do, prepare for your own death." Calson's face was a little uneasy. Baiyi caught it. No way, you didn't watch the tape, did you?" "To solve the case, several colleagues and I watched it." Calson felt a pang of discomfort. "Then you're done," Baiyi said with deep regret. "I always thought we were good partners. I have an acquaintance in funerals. Tell your family to call me and I can give you a 30% discount. Damn, don't take me for dead." "So, isn't there a way to crack this?" "There's no complete crack, but there is a temporary solution. Copy the videotape and show it to someone else. That way, you won't have to die for now." Calson's eyes widened. "Isn't that just letting someone else die for me? This is how Semra kills." "It all depends on how you do it." Baiyi spread his hands. "Is there no way to completely kill her? At least I can't do it right now." "I have a tool that might save you." "How much?" $200,000. Calson walked away, his heart heavy. Baiyi yawned. Perhaps being trapped by Queen Esteth for a while had left him with some after effects, making him extremely sleepy. Now he was sleepy. Go to sleep. Only a gentle big sister like Aunt May, whose work rhythm is perfectly in line with Baiyi's, can offset the psychological shadow he has on Queen Esteth. Chapter 3 Coin of Destiny. Calson felt like he'd been tricked. He held a coin in his hand. Is this really worth $200,000? Coin of Destiny, $200,000. Synopsis: a great death or a small life. Fate has already been arranged, dead or alive. According to White Knight, when faced with a desperate situation, flip this coin, And there's a 50% chance of either utter misfortune, a hard death, or a 50% chance of good fortune turning around. SHIELD Headquarters, Trident's Building. Director's Office. Callison was reporting to fuck. A disembodied ghost. After hearing Callison's report, Nick Fury frowned. No wonder we can't find any trace of the serial killer. It turns out she doesn't even exist in the real world. Director, Callison hesitated, then said, if White Knight's information is correct, how should we deal with this ghost? If it were a physical enemy, SHIELD's firepower would be enough to defeat them. Even the Hulk could be crushed by the military. Could SHIELD's firepower be inferior to the military's? SHIELD even possess numerous advanced technologies the military lacked. But dealing with a ghost that appeared and disappeared without a trace was beyond SHIELD's capabilities. Nick Fury pondered for a moment and said, first, investigate this little girl named Semra. Next, I'll inquire with the Vatican to see if they have any methods to deal with a ghost. Understood. Callison nodded and left the director's office. Meanwhile, the coin of destiny Callison had brought back also showed signs of paranormal activity, proving that the coin Bai Yi had given him did indeed possess magical powers. A 50% chance of accelerated death, a 50% chance of survival. Callison's face was torn. If the situation truly came to a head, would he really flip this coin? Afternoon. At the entrance of Amway Treasure House. Bai Yi was lying in the sun, a cup of goji berry tea at his side. Aunt May was asleep inside, taking a nap, and she'd probably be up for most of the day. Bai Yi took a sip of his goji berry tea, pulled out his phone, and chatted with a girl on Facebook. A lively young woman named Su Chang. Bai Yi, baby, I was carrying cement to the construction site today. My coworkers praised me for my strength. I carried one sack at a time. I burst into tears instantly. I can carry everything, but I can't bear missing you, my baby. Su Chang, really, Bai Yi, do you really miss me that much? 3. Bai Yi, of course, you don't know, my world is gray without you. Su Chang, then why don't you come back to China to see me? Bai Yi, things are very busy here in America. You know, it's not easy to make money from foreigners. You have to smile to them to earn some hard work fee. Su Chang, if you are not happy here, then come back. I am easy to support. You don't need to make so much money. Bai Yi, how can that be? I said, one day, I will come to marry you on a colorful cloud. Suddenly, a text message came in the phone. Tony, there's a yacht party here, are you coming? A yacht party? Huh? Speaking of which, Bai Yi's sleepiness was gone. Are there a lot of beautiful women, models, bunny girls, third-tier celebrities? Wait for me, Bai Yi, baby, enough talking, a client's here, I'll contact you later. He cut short his words, put on his clothes, and left. Even if you're an ant, you should aspire to be a sea king. Even if your life is as thin as paper, you should have a heart as thick as a skin. Leaving a sticky note for Aunt May, Bai Yi drove his Chevrolet Camaro and left home. The yacht docked at the private dock. When Bai Yi arrived, Tony Stark's largest yacht on the world began its voyage. I heard your treasure house has been open for a year and hasn't sold a single item. Isn't that too lame? Tony Stark, wearing sunglasses and looking like a wealthy man, said arrogantly, how about coming to work for Stark Corporation? I'll give you a security manager position with an annual salary of $1 million. Forget it, Bai Yi said with a smile. Stark Corporation is the largest military-industrial complex, but you closed down its weapons manufacturing department. Everyone says Stark Corporation is on the verge of bankruptcy. Tisk, Tony said disdainfully. As long as I'm here, Stark Corporation will never go bankrupt. If you don't want to come, don't come crying and begging me when the time comes. Sir, your drink. A bunny girl brought Bai Yi a whiskey. A woman who could come aboard Tony Stark's yacht had to be beautiful and sexy. She wore 2 black bunny ears, and her long legs were perfectly exposed through her black translucent stockings. Bai Yi lifted his wine glass with one hand and, with the other, embraced the bunny girl. You're overthinking it. I've come here crying and begging you. It's almost the other way around. After dealing with Tony briefly, Bai Yi focused his attention on the bunny girl in his arms. Besides her voluptuous figure, the bunny girl also had a sweet and adorable appearance, perfectly suiting Bai Yi's aesthetic. What's your name? She looked a bit silly and cute, not just an act, but a genuinely silly and cute type of woman, commonly known as a silly, sweet girl. Hearing Bai Yi's question, she quickly replied, My name is Shelley." After a brief conversation, Bai Yi learned about her life story, an orphan who grew up in an orphanage before being discovered by a scout. She had previously been to the Playboy Manor, but was later framed and forced to move away, eventually ending up working as a dorm supervisor at a school. "It's not easy for you either." Bai Yi put his arm around Shelley's waist and sighed. "Have you ever thought about changing jobs? Men, after all, have two major hobbies: luring decent women into prostitution and persuading fallen girls to change their ways. I'm so stupid. I couldn't even support myself doing any other job," Shelley said distressedly. Bai Yi didn't discriminate against girls like Shelley. He wasn't a moral freak. He believed that, regardless of the world, every soul was half human, half ghost, and that no one could see them if they got too close. While Bai Yi and Tony chatted about serious matters, he chatted with Shelley about less serious matters. Shelley was somewhat flattered by Bai Yi's gentle, unobtrusive attitude. Mr. Bai Yi, even a big shot like you can be so kind. Bai Yi, hey, what's so special about me? I'm just someone trying to make a living. Because Bai Yi seemed so easy to talk to, Shelley gradually grew bolder. Shelley also asked Bai Yi curiously, "I heard that China's totem is the dragon. Mr. Bai Yi, do dragons really exist in China?" She had heard the legend of the Chinese dragon: a camel head, deer antlers, snake neck, turtle eyes, tiger paws, eagle claws, and ox ears. It was very mysterious. But how could such a creature exist? Bai Yi was holding the dragon ball in his arms, so he said seriously, "Dragons are real. To be honest, before coming here, I was served by a dragon." Shelley, from School Bunny Girl, starring Anna Faris. Please remember that every female character has a prototype. When writing, I will indicate the source at the end of the chapter. Chapter 4: Norton Skilled HP Potion. Ding. Frog has brought you some travel souvenirs. Please check them out. Substitute doll, a purple, adorable disposable doll. It can bear some pressure for you and give you a break when you're in danger. It looks like it can be washed and used again. Bai Yi, damn. What kind of erotic stuff did that bastard frog send him? I'm a clean bastard, don't just send me some weird stuff and taint my purity. The incident flashed through Bai Yi's mind. No one on the yacht noticed. Oh, right, Tony suddenly thought, and said to Bai Yi, "A baddie has escaped from prison. You should be careful." Escaped from prison? Bai Yi raised an eyebrow and said, "Those fat guys are so unreliable? Aren't they all obsessed with power struggles? And, you actually let him live?" A week after Tony was kidnapped in Afghanistan, Bai Yi went to meet Pepper. It wasn't that Bai Yi wanted to do something popular, or risk his life for Tony Stark by going to a remote place like Afghanistan to rescue him. Instead, he sold a piece of information to Pepper Potts for $20 million. The mastermind behind Tony's kidnapping was Obadiah, whom Tony considered his uncle. Pepper Potts was reluctant to believe it, but Tony's whereabouts were strictly confidential, and yet they were intercepted by Afghan rebels. It was definitely a mole who betrayed the information. Pepper Potts became scheming and used Jarvis to closely monitor Obadiah's every move. Finally, by monitoring Obadiah's phone calls and emails, she discovered the location of the rebels who had kidnapped Tony. Obadiah was in contact with them. Originally, Obadiah had only ordered them to kill an ordinary person, but when they realized their target was the renowned Tony Stark, they ordered Tony to build a Jellicoe missile while threatening Obadiah with more money. Pepper alerted Tony's good friend, Colonel Rhodes, and a massive U.S. military operation, including a special unit called the Butter Knife Squad, ultimately rescued Tony. Bai Yi also received his intelligence payment. He, after all, helped me out when I was most in need, Tony said, a complex expression as he held his glass. So I wasn't so ruthless as to kill him outright. I just wanted him to receive fair punishment from the law and spend his life in prison. But I never imagined he'd escape. After the death of Howard and his wife, Tony experienced a period of depression. During that time, it was Obadiah, Tony's uncle, who cared for him attentively. Obadiah must have been genuinely kind to Tony at the time. The current conflict between the uncle and nephew can only be attributed to the powerful corrupting power of money and power. Just run away. Bai Yi didn't care and said, as long as he dares to come and cause trouble for me, I will not be as soft-hearted as you. Don't be careless. Although most of his assets have been seized, an old fox like him must have a lot of hidden assets behind the scenes. Most of the things that can be done with money are probably not a big deal for him. Bai Yi waved his hand. We are out for fun today, so let's not talk about these spoiling things. We can talk about it later if there's anything, Tony. Okay. Bai Yi glanced at Tony's face and said, "You look weak, your eyes are black and blue, and your face is pale. Are you scared by this kidnapping? Do you want me to give you some magic potion to repair your heart that is as easily frightened as a little rabbit?" "I'm not scared. I've just stayed up late to do experiments too much recently," Tony said stubbornly, "but if you have a way, if you insist on giving it to me, I can give you a face." Bang! Bai Yi pressed a red test tube on the table and said, 10 million per bottle. "Try it first, pay later." Norton's skilled HP potion. So expensive, Tony was shocked. It wasn't that he couldn't afford it, but the little blue pills were only a few dollars each. What kind of potion was this? $10 million a bottle. "If you try it and think it's fake, you don't have to pay a single dollar," Bai Yi said. Tony hesitated and asked, "How do I use it?" If it was truly effective, $10 million would be child's play for him. "Just take it orally," Tony obeyed, uncorked the bottle, and took a sip. Even if the potion didn't work, he was still prepared to pay $10 million. Bai Yi had practically saved his life, so a little more wouldn't hurt. But, if Bai Yi came more often, their relationship would probably drift apart. The potion transformed into a warm current as it entered Tony's mouth, sending a warm feeling through him, comforting. Just from this feeling of comfort that washed over him, Tony felt that the $10 million had been well spent. Beep! Suddenly, the watch on Tony's left wrist chimed. He glanced down, shocked. The palladium concentration has dropped dramatically. The number on the watch had dropped from 51 to 19. Because of a hole in his heart, he had to rely on the arc reactor to stay alive. His body was constantly being eroded by palladium. Once the palladium concentration in his blood reached 100%, he would die a horrific and painful death from cancer. Honestly, he had already written a will, dedicating most of his assets to a charity to help cancer patients, with a remainder to his secretary, Pepper Potts. He planned to live out his final days in dissolute fashion, then find a place to die peacefully. And now, Bayer was selling him a reagent that could lower the palladium concentration. Without a doubt, Bayer was selling him the medicine that would save his life. "Well, I wasn't lying to you, was I?" Bai Yi chuckled, sipping his whiskey. "This $10 million is a steal, isn't it?" Tony's face grew serious. "Do you have any more of this potion?" "Plenty. As many as you want, I'll have." "Then give me 20 tubes," Tony declared with a wave of his hand. "That's generous." Bai Yi rubbed the silver ring on his left hand, then brushed his hand across the table, placing 20 tubes of Norton's skilled HP potion on the table. Seeing the potion, Tony readily transferred $200 million to Bai Yi's account. Bai Yi had thousands of Norton's skilled HP potion and similar items in his warehouse. Even with the Dragon Balls, Bai Yi needed some before. But now, after consuming the Thunder Fruit, they were completely useless to him. It would be better to trade them for cash. After handing over the money, Tony looked at Bai Yi seriously. "Thank you, no need for further words." "You're welcome," Bai Yi smiled and said, "We're all friends." Tony was delighted to have secured the life-saving medication and said, "I've got a gambling game planned for tonight. Want to join us?" "No." Bai Yi waved his hand and said, "I've always had a deep hatred for drugs and gambling." Tony glanced at Bai Yi. "Good fellow. You didn't even mention Wong." Chapter 5 She's Just My Sister. The sun was setting. Bai Yi changed his clothes and disembarked from the yacht. Arriving at the parking lot, he opened the door of his Chevrolet Camaro and climbed in. Just as he was about to close the door, someone stopped him. Puzzled, he looked over to see a beautiful woman wearing sunglasses. "Bai Yi, long time no see." She removed her sunglasses, revealing a stunning face. Fair skin, a pair of perfectly shaped eyes, delicate eyebrows, and blood-red lips, she exuded an elegant demeanor. "Gail," Bayer was taken aback. This woman was a friend he had met in France a year ago. They had spent at least a week together there. "Why are you here?" "I came to New York for work, so I came to visit you." "What? You're not welcome," Gail smiled. "Of course not," Bai Yi shook his head. "Get in, I'll drive." Gail ushered Bai Yi into the passenger seat, then took the driver's seat herself. He then stepped on the accelerator, and the car took off like an arrow. The Chevrolet Camaro sped down the road. Gail's driving skills were no less impressive than those of a professional race car driver. "What are you planning to do in New York this time?" Bai Yi asked tentatively. He knew Gail's work was anything but formal. Of course, it wasn't the kind of shady business Bai Yi often engaged in, but rather, the kind written into the criminal code. This is confidential. I can't tell you for now, Gale said, blinking. By the way, what's the matter? I've had some health problems recently. What's the matter? Is it serious? No big deal. The doctor said I have too much dampness and need some intimacy to detoxify. Bai Yi. Gale smiled, observing the street lights, cleverly avoiding the cameras, and said, New York is your territory now. If there are any fun places, let's go together. Bai Yi. There are so many fun places. After Bai Yi left, Tony thought about it and did not go to the casino to play. Instead, he chose to go home and analyze the ingredients of the special medicines that Bai Yi brought. I've tried everything, and in the end, I can only use that awful chlorophyll juice to alleviate my palladium poisoning. Why is this red reagent Bai Yi gave me so potent? Waiting for the test results. Tony couldn't help but frown. Jarvis, you're not mistaken, are you? How can there be so many unknown elements? The discovery of a single unknown element is guaranteed to win a Nobel Prize. Marie Curie won a Nobel Prize in physics and a Nobel Prize in chemistry for discovering radium and polonium, yet Bai Yi's reagent contains over a dozen unknown elements. Sir, please believe me, I'm not mistaken, an electronic voice boomed from within the villa. It was Tony's electronic butler, Jarvis. And what about this magical substance that acts as a glue for all the elements? What is it? For the first time, Tony realized his own ignorance. The potion Bai Yi had given him was flawless. It could invigorate the body, repair wounds, and so on, without any side effects. But the secrets it held within were like a cat's claw, tantalizing him, making him eager to delve into it. How about giving Bai Yi a call? Disneyland. Tomorrowland. Bai Yi was riding the Tron Lightcycle Power Run with Gale. The two-wheeled speedster. The interior was incredibly cool, with incredibly fast acceleration and stunning light effects. The track was covered in shimmering lights and signs, like a time tunnel into the future. Enter the cutting-edge digital center and explore a wondrous future world. It was also a very relaxing attraction, offering the adrenaline rush of high-speed travel. Originally meant for the kids, but Gale wanted to try it too, so Bai Yi had to accompany him. Suddenly, a ringtone rang in Bai Yi's pocket. He had to pick up his phone. Tony, what's up? Damn. This guy couldn't even spare the time for a call. I'm riding the speedster. If it weren't for the $200 million you just contributed to me, I'd lock you straight away, believe it or not. Bai Yi, I want to ask, where did the reagent you gave me come from? Is this question important? It's very important to me. For the sake of research, Tony had to patiently say, Bai Yi, could you introduce me to your friend? You may not know this reagent, Tony, that bastard, was really annoying. Bai Yi didn't bother to talk to him anymore and said directly, let me be clear, that reagent is not a technological invention, but an alchemical potion, created by a master alchemist named Norton. The so-called unknown element is extracted through alchemy. As for the magical ability, it is the magic power required to learn alchemy. After speaking, Bai Yi hung up and turned off the phone. Let that bastard bother him again. Sunset. Bai Yi drove to the parking lot next to his home. Gale stretched and said, that was great. I had a lot of fun today. She smiled and kissed Bai Yi on the cheek, saying, Bai Yi, I'll come see you next time. Her job was high risk and stressful, so before work, she'd come to Bai Yi for some fun and to blow off some steam. That's fine. I'll definitely do my part, Bai Yi said. But your job is a bit too dangerous. Be careful. Don't worry, I'm not working alone now. I'm with a group of sisters. Gale got out of the car, waved to Bai Yi, and walked away with a very casual look. Bai Yi also got out and closed the door. He walked out of the parking lot. Unexpectedly, he ran into a high school student. It was Aunt May's nephew, Peter Parker. Oh, Parker, Uncle Bai Yi, who is that auntie who was in your car just now? Parker asked curiously. Oh, Bai Yi looked at Parker, hesitated for a moment, and said, she's just an ordinary sister of mine. Chapter 6 Thank you Coffin Heart. The next day. The sun was warm and the breeze was gentle. Parker, carrying his backpack, came down from upstairs. Bai Yi had purchased the entire building for over $7 million. The first floor housed Bai Yi's Amway treasure house and personal residence. Aunt May didn't usually live with Bai Yi, as she had to look after her nephew, so she rented a room on the second floor. Of course, Even though Bai Yi offered to keep it free, Aunt May insisted on paying rent. Her monthly salary of $10,000 was considered high, and she wasn't so poorly off that she couldn't afford even $1,000 in rent. "Parker, are you up?" Aunt May was busy in the kitchen. "Hurry up and have breakfast, don't be late." Over the past year, they had gotten into the habit of living separately but eating in the dining room downstairs. "Oh," Parker nodded, and sat down at the table, facing Bai Yi, to eat breakfast. After breakfast, Parker prepared for school. "Wait a minute," Bai Yi stopped Parker, stepped forward, straightened his collar, and said, "Parker, when you go to school, you must pay attention to your appearance. Remember to wear morning clothes at school, and don't wear anything too conspicuous. After class, take your own water tablet to collect water. Remember to keep up with the yin music during morning exercises. I heard that your afternoon health exercises are now under inspection. When the spirit sounds are heard during class, you must be quiet. Don't oppose the old corpse in class. Students must get along with each other." Parker looked at Bai Yi with a strange expression, feeling that Bai Yi was a bit threatening, but he still said politely, "Thank you, Guanzin." "Parker, this kid has been smart since he was a child." Bai Yi saw that Parker understood his meaning and nodded with satisfaction. After breakfast, Aunt May was in the kitchen washing dishes. Bai Yi placed a soft chair in front of the treasure house and a cup of goji berry tea on the small table next to it. Comfortable, Bai Yi lay down on the soft chair and took a sip of the goji berry tea. Bai Yi rubbed the silver-white space ring on his left hand, and a large sealing scroll appeared in his hand, the Book of Sealings, from the hidden cloud village in the Naruto world. It records all the village's ninjutsu. Finally, it can be put to use, Bai Yi whispered. Previously, Bai Yi had held the hidden cloud village's sealing book, which had gathered dust. Because that bastard frog had only given him the Book of Sealings, but not the most basic and crucial thing, the method for refining chakra. Without chakra, what good was the Book of Sealings? The Book of Sealings contained all sorts of powerful secret techniques, but lacked even the most basic chakra refining methods. Just like when Naruto obtained Konoha's Book of Sealings, the first chapter was about A-level ninjutsu like the multiple shadow clone jutsu. So, Bai Yi had gone to great lengths to return empty-handed. But now, Bai Yi has consumed the Thunder Fruit, possessing the power to control and transform lightning. The Hidden Cloud Village is most famous for its lightning release ninjutsu, whose leader is known as the Raikage. Therefore, the Thunder Fruit is like a key, unlocking the door to Bai Yi's treasure trove and allowing him to utilize the Hidden Cloud Village's sealed book, Lightning Release, Earth Walk, AC rank ninjutsu. Lightning is released from both hands, spreading across the earth or water. It is even more powerful when combined with water release, Lightning Release, Black Spot, a rank ninjutsu. Leopard-shaped black lightning is released from the body, initially focusing on a single target before spreading outward, causing unbearable pain and immobilization. Lightning Release, Pseudo-darkness, a rank ninjutsu. A sharp spear of lightning is released from the mouth, sweeping lightning from close range to far. This technique possesses incredible power, capable of piercing even rock, making it a highly destructive technique capable of annihilating numerous enemies in an instant. Bai Yi simply skipped over the previous lightning release ninjutsu and flipped to the last page. His eyes suddenly lit up. "I found it, Lightning Release Chakra Mode, AB rank ninjutsu, a secret technique only passed down by the Raikage. This technique wraps lightning around the body, increasing its strength and speed, creating a form of armor that allows the flesh to animate." Bai Yi remembered that the third and fourth Raikage relied on this lightning release chakra mode to achieve such prowess. The third Raikage could withstand Uzumaki Naruto's Rasen Shuriken unscathed, and single-handedly held off 10,000 ninja from the Hidden Rock Village for 3 days and 3 nights. The fourth Raikage's speed rivaled Minato Namake's space-time ninjutsu, easily dodging Amaterasu, Konoha's king. If Gaara hadn't shielded the second pillar with sand during the 5-cage summit, the fourth Raikage's righteous thunderbolt would have killed the second pillar instantly. Well, Bai Yi was simply envious of the lightning release chakra mode's immense physical defense and speed. It certainly wasn't about indestructible hardening or immense endurance. "That's what I'm going to learn." Bai Yi excitedly began to delve into the lightning release chakra mode. Ninjutsu, after all, is about converting chakra energy into various elements. Bai Yi used the Thunder Fruit to generate lightning elements to imitate and activate lightning release ninjutsu. Just like all rivers return to the sea, all different paths lead to the same destination. Just like hydropower, thermal power, and nuclear power, in the final analysis, they all convert various other energies into electrical energy. Bai spent a whole day studying the book of ceiling. Fortunately, the first floor of the entire building was connected, and his own private room was large enough for him to explore. Inside the room, flashes of lightning flashed again and again. As the Dragon Ball, which Bai had always kept on his body, glowed faintly, Bai, after a day's hard work, finally got a basic understanding of the lightning release chakra mode. Damn, this physical improvement rate is too slow. To reach the level of the third or fourth Raikage, it'll probably take at least several years. By then, the purple potato spirit will probably be here soon. How can I have that much time? At night, after Bai took a shower and walked into the room, wrapped in a towel, he found Aunt May, dressed in pajamas, lying on her side on the boat. Her skin was as white as cream, rosy, gentle as jade, and translucent. Her waist was slender and soft, as if it were boneless. Her long, slender, and well-proportioned legs were breathtakingly beautiful. Even her graceful lotus feet were silently enchanting. Beneath her pajamas, she revealed exquisite curves, a devilish figure, and a captivating charm. Seeing Bai enter, Aunt May smiled softly. Her eyes were as clear as the blue waves, and the curve of her mouth was as perfect as a crescent moon. Her beauty was flawless, so otherworldly. Bai was reminded of the poem, "One smile brings out all the charms, making all the beauties in the palace pale in comparison." Aunt May playfully winked at Bai and asked, "Have you finished your work?" Bai yawned. His sleepiness had returned, strained by his lightning chakra training and the abuse he'd endured from Queen's teeth. "Let's go to bed. We'll talk tomorrow if anything's wrong." He didn't bother to pay attention to what Aunt May was thinking. He turned off the light, threw back the covers, and slowly squeezed in. He fell asleep. Chapter 7 Batman Wolf. The night passed in silence. As the sun shone on Bai's face, he awoke from his sleep. "Are you awake?" Aunt May noticed Bai's gaze and turned. "Well, it's still early. Get some more sleep and get some rest," Bai said. Aunt May rolled her eyes at him and said, "I still have to prepare breakfast for Parker." Bai said, "A child won't starve to death if they skip a meal." "Listen, is that even human?" Aunt May ignored Bai and walked out of the room. "Alice," Bai sighed, "sons are indeed the enemies of their fathers in past lives, Parker. Don't you know that because of you, Uncle Bai no longer has the right to sleep in, without Aunt May's company?" Bai obediently got up, washed up, and ate breakfast. "I'm full." Parker ate a few bites, then ran out of the house, bread in his mouth. "Parker's been acting a little strange lately," Bai asked, puzzled. "He's out early and back late every day. Is he in a premature relationship?" "Parker's a senior in high school. Dating is perfectly normal, right? How can it be considered premature love?" Aunt May said as she cleared the table. Since Aunt May didn't care, what else could Bai say? "May, I'm going to go out after dinner. You stay home and look after the store." "Okay, leave it to me," Aunt May agreed without asking any questions. After Bai left, Aunt May cleaned up the kitchen and went to Bai's bedroom. She retrieved a double-barreled shotgun from there and placed it under the counter. Then she pulled out a storybook and, wearing her gold-rimmed glasses, began reading with great interest. Bai drove his Chevrolet Camaro to an office building. Upstairs, at an accounting firm, he met his personal accountant, Christian Wolf. This accountant's identity wasn't simple either. He possessed a dual identity. Yet, that's right. By day, he was Bruce Wayne, Gotham City's richest man, and by night, he was Batman, Gotham's dark hero. Wolf, I don't. Ahem, cross that out. He possessed a dual identity. By day, he was an ordinary accountant, and by night, he transformed into a mysterious assassin. "Batman, how have you been?" Bai casually sat across from Wolf. Wolf's eye twitched, and he said, "I've told you many times, I'm not Batman. I'm Christian Wolf." Bai, "Got it, Batman, Wolf, okay." He gave up on correcting Bai's nickname for him. "What do you want from me?" Wolf took a sip of water from his old kettle. "Yesterday, I extorted another $200 million from that tycoon Tony Stark. It's of no use to me right now, so I'm going to invest all my previous earnings in Stark Group stock," Bai said. Getting down to business, Wolf calmly asked, "Are you going to increase your leverage this time?" "No, I'm playing the long game this time," But I don't have the money to pay the brokerage interest, Bai Yi said. If you have some spare cash, I suggest you buy some Stark Corporation stock. I guarantee it'll multiply several times over in a few years. Thank you for your advice, but after Tony Stark announced that Stark Corporation was abandoning the military industry, and after Stark Corporation Vice President Obadiah was arrested, the chances of Stark Corporation turning around are slim, Wolf said expressionlessly. I'm just giving you advice. Forget about buying, Bai Yi shrugged. Others might not know, but he knew that even though Stark Corporation's stock had plummeted, from a market value of over $300 billion to just over $160 billion, as long as Tony powered the arc reactor and successfully transitioned Stark Corporation from the military to the energy industry, Stark Corporation would balloon, expanding to $1 trillion market value within a few years. Because the arc reactor is essentially a cold fusion reactor, it's bound to lead humanity's technological frontier. Its significance is no less profound than the explosion of the first nuclear bomb in human history. I already know what you're talking about. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Wolf immediately began to chase him away. Every minute he spent with Bai Yi felt like he was losing a year of his life. Tisk, I don't want to be with you anymore. Bai Yi finished his words and headed downstairs. Downstairs from Wolf's accounting firm was an educational training class called the School of Seduction. It was run by a charming Italian woman named Sophia. Knowing Sophia's classes were from 6 o'clock to 9 p.m. and that she would definitely be home during the day, Bai Yi, upon coming down, skillfully pulled out his keys and opened the door. Well, the building was owned by an overseas fund, so Bai Yi had keys to all the floors. Sophia was also Bai Yi's friend, they'd met in England. He went to see if she needed any help. Pushing the door open, he saw a peach. In the center of the room, a yoga ball, a woman sprawled on it. Her back was to Bai Yi. She was bent over, knees bent, body straightened, hips raised. Her S-curves, tightly woven into her tights, evoked by Bai Yi's slender figure. Bai Yi was stunned. Sophia blinked. Bai Yi, why are you here? In Bai Yi's opinion, Sophia was undoubtedly the kind of woman who could make a man's heart flutter. With long, sleek black hair and a radiant, oval face, she was delicate and sweet. Tall, with curves where they should be, her legs straight and slender, and her rare beauty, she was a truly stunning beauty. Oh, Bai Yi said, I came to see you. Sophia had come to New York alone after a conflict with her husband. As a good friend, Bai Yi was bound to lend a helping hand whenever he could. Of course, Bai Yi and Sophia were innocent and had absolutely nothing to do with anything that would be considered immoral. Well, the most important thing for a person is to do things openly and with a clear conscience, but if you feel guilty, just convince yourself not to have any. Sophia, from Seduction School, starring Kelly Brook. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8 Uncle 9. 2 hours later. Bai Yi said with a smile on his face, Sophia, I brought you a gift. What gift? Sophia's eyes widened, staring at Bai Yi curiously. Bai Yi pulled out a delicate little box. As soon as Sophia opened it, she covered her mouth in disbelief. Inside the box was a ring, lotus ring, $300,000, synopsis, in love, purity is an illusion, vows are lies, everything ends before forever, Paris, Bai Yi, this, just an ordinary gift, Bai Yi smiled. The main thing was, since he was giving something to a woman, it had to be jewelry. There weren't many other good options. It couldn't be a broken leather collar, or a worn cotton bracelet, could it? Sophia was overcome with emotion. Her voice choked with emotion as she spoke. Bai Yi, you know what? I just mailed the divorce papers to my husband, so, Bai Yi's face froze. Damn. Did he get out of hand? But Bai Yi was a celibate. Marriage was out of the question, never in his lifetime. He couldn't even make takeout, so he had to rely on girlfriends to make ends meet. Sophia, Bai Yi interrupted her, his face serious. I don't plan to get married in my lifetime. Sophia was stunned. Why? Because marriage is a constraint on women. I don't want you to be oppressed. I want you to be free from the constraints of marriage, and I don't want you to become a tool for me to reproduce. Therefore, I plan to let you freely date me for the rest of your life, Bai Yi continued. That way, the tragedy that happened to you and your husband won't happen to us again. Sophia, is that ridiculous? I guess I should thank him. Day 7. Moscow Island. Carlson and SHIELD agents used a pump to drain the water from an ancient well. I found it. There are skeletons down there, the skeleton of a little girl, the SHIELD agent shouted from the bottom of the well. Great, a tall, delicate young woman, cradling her son, looked slightly excited. Her name was Rachel, a reporter for NBC. Her sister's daughter was among those killed by the 7 days to die curse, so her curiosity piqued. Through investigation, she found a videotape and began to examine it. And then, barbecue, no camera could capture her image. Meanwhile, SHIELD had also begun investigating the videotape murders, so Carlson and Rachel began to fight for their lives. After learning the information from White Knight, Carlson, using the videotape's contents and SHIELD's vast resources, located the ghost Samira's birthplace, Moscow Island. Through covert investigations on Moscow Island, they gathered a rough outline of Samira's tragic past. Rachel and Carlson speculated that burying Samira might help break the curse he had placed on them. Samira's remains were placed in a bucket and hoisted up. Carlson and Rachel quickly buried Samira at the cemetery on Moscow Island. Rachel quickly grabbed her camera and took a picture of herself. A moment later, Rachel's face paled, and the camera in her hand sank limply to the ground. Is the curse still not broken? Carlson, standing nearby, also took out SHIELD's specialized paranormal activity detector and checked himself and his agents. The result was undeniable. Samira was still pestering them. What should we do now? Rachel looked at Carlson pleadingly. If they couldn't find a solution, Samira would attack them within the next half day, and Rachel didn't want to die. Carlson was silent for a moment. SHIELD. Did it have a clear solution against a supernatural being like Samira? Or, given SHIELD's resources, they might have some solutions, but those solutions would likely cause even greater harm. Therefore, a few ordinary agents weren't worth Nick Fury's fuss. In Nick Fury's eyes, human life is a matter of addition and subtraction. When he sees fit, sacrificing one for the sake of the majority is perfectly justified. Do we really have to flip this coin? Carlson fished out the coin of destiny from his pocket. Even this, Nick Fury had approved it. Even burying the remains won't alleviate Samira's resentment. I can't think of any other way. I can't actually copy the videotape and show it to others, can I? Carlson gritted his teeth and flipped the coin. The moment the coin landed, his phone rang. He looked. It was Bai Yi. Ding. Frog's friends are visiting. Please be attentive. At Amway Treasure House, Bai Yi suddenly received a notification. Then, following a black hole, a unibrowed man in plain clothes, holding a kitchen knife, appeared before him. Uncle Nine, Bai Yi was stunned. Uncle Nine, did you meet Frog? Bai Yi asked curiously. Uncle Jiu took a sip of the hot tea Bai Yi handed him and said gloomily, I got up this morning and went to the kitchen to make breakfast for Wen Ke. I saw a frog in the water tank. Curious, I thought about making him some frog porridge, but I didn't expect that I'd just caught a frog and it would be sent here, making frog porridge with baby frogs? Bai Yi couldn't help but laugh. No wonder Uncle Jiu was sent here by a baby frog. But, if he had the chance, he would also like to make frog porridge with a baby frog. He was almost killed by that bastard in his last life. What kind of hell did he send him to? Can I still go back? Uncle Jiu asked. I don't know, Bai Yi said. The baby frog is crazy and doesn't do things according to common sense. I've been here for more than 2 years and I haven't been able to go back. As a religious person, Uncle Jiu still has a certain degree of acceptance of the great world and the small world. Uncle Jiu sighed. Wen Ke can't even take care of himself. If I don't get back, he'll probably starve to death in the funeral home. Bai Yi suddenly thought of something. By the way, Uncle Jiu, I have a friend who's been haunted by an evil spirit. Could you help me? I'll do my best to slay the demon. After receiving Uncle Jiu's affirmative response, Bai Yi called Carlson. Hey, Mediterranean, things have turned around for you. Of course it's true. How could I lie to you? But, $200,000 per person, heartless. Damn, a life, and I'm charging you $200,000. How can that be considered heartless? It's fine if you're not going to die, but tell your men, $200,000, to come quickly if you don't want to die. I can't save you after the time limit." About 2 hours after Bai Yi hung up, Callison finally bit the bullet and arrived with his men. Rachel stood out among them, standing out from the crowd. Chapter 9, Bold Demon. "I can tell at a glance that you are not human. Today I want you to show your true colors." Bai Yi sighed. "You bastard Callison. If you told me earlier that this beautiful young lady was also cursed by Samira, wouldn't I have helped you find a solution long ago? But you stubbornly insisted. If Uncle Nine hadn't happened to show up, you would have killed this young lady." Well, while Bai Yi might not be able to completely defeat Samira, he wasn't too afraid. In his previous life, Bai Yi had studied some dark arts with Master Gao Chang. Of course, it might also be because he was too upright, and the nature of dark arts was incompatible with him, so he only learned the basics and made no progress. Therefore, Bai Yi might not be able to kill Samira, but he should be able to deal with Samira for a while. Mr. Bai Yi, do you really have a way to help us lift the curse? Callison asked hurriedly. Not only his own life, but the lives of the entire team he led, depended on Bai Yi. How could he not be anxious? "Please allow me to introduce you to him." Bai Yi respectfully invited Uncle Nine to come out. "This is Uncle Nine, an authentic descendant of the Maotian sect and a master ghost catcher. After a while, after he kills his eldest brother Shi Jian, he will most likely take over as the head of the Maotian sect." "Callison, is this ghost catcher so unconventional?" Looking at the ordinary Uncle Nine, Callison asked in a low voice, "Is he really reliable?" "Uncle Nine doesn't speak English, so it's okay if you speak to me loudly," Bai Yi said. "As for whether he is reliable or not, do you think you have any other choice now?" Uncle Nine didn't understand English. He looked at Rachel and the others, frowned and said, "Their foreheads are black, their eyes are bloodshot, and they are full of resentment. It seems that the ghosts that have come to them are not ordinary ghosts, but almost at the level of ghost kings." Bai Yi knew that Samra had superpowers when he was alive. After being killed by resentment, he was even more resentful. His power was much stronger than that of ghosts like Kayako. "Uncle Jiu, are you sure you can handle it? And it's a Western ghost. Some of our traditional ghost-killing methods might be ineffective." If Uncle Jiu wasn't confident of dealing with Semla, Bai Yi would have driven Callison and the others out, leaving Rachel alone. Fortunately, Uncle Jiu, the man who gave Bai Yi the most sense of security, didn't disappoint. "There might be some obstacles, but they're not a big deal," Uncle Jiu said. "I once worked with Father Wu, a Western-style priest, to fight a half-vampire, half-zombie creature, so I've studied Western ghosts. As long as she hasn't truly become a ghost king, it won't be a big problem." "Uncle Jiu, you're generous." Bai Yi gave Uncle Jiu a thumbs up. Then, leaning closer, he whispered, "These Westerners are all very wealthy. They said they'll give you 2 large yellow croakers for every person you rescue." Bai Yi's demand was $200,000 per person. A large yellow croaker from the Republican era weighed 312.5 grams, and the international gold price was about $58 per gram, so a single large yellow croaker would cost around $20,000. Well, even middlemen have to make a profit. If you really encounter some unscrupulous people, they might not give Uncle Jiu a penny, but just trick him into going straight in. After all, if Uncle Jiu encounters a harmful demon, even if he doesn't want to be paid, he will definitely force his way in. Ahem, Uncle Jiu cleared his throat and said earnestly. "Xiao Bai, I'm not saying anything bad, but helping the poor and needy is our duty. How can we casually accept such expensive gifts?" "Oh, I see. I'll return the money right away, never mind. After all, this is a kind gesture from them. How can we refuse them? Don't accept so much next time, for sure." Uncle Jiu nodded. The boy is teachable. "Okay, next, help me set up the altar." 2 hours before Callison arrived, Uncle Jiu took Bai Yi to the nearby area to buy all the supplies needed to slay demons. Yellow paper, red pen, black ink, kitchen knife, wooden sword, and materials for building the altar and formation. Bai Yi busied himself with the task, completing the formation near the treasure house and helping Uncle Jiu build the altar. It was almost dark. Uncle Jiu was wearing a yellow Taoist robe with a bagua pattern on the back, holding a peach wood sword. He had placed a well-proportioned armchair in front of the treasure house and sat on it. He immediately felt like a towering, unshakable mountain, the aura of a master. It truly gave him a sense of security. It reminded Bai Yi of Wang Dachu's words, "I wish I could gallop with him and share the prosperity of the world. It would be wonderful to be able to accompany the general forever." Suddenly, the temperature around the treasure house dropped several degrees. A cold, damp wind blew in from all directions. Simultaneously, the yellow talismans on the altar rustled. "Here it comes." Uncle Jiu, seated upright in his armchair, immediately opened his eyes and chanted his incantations, guidelines from the mysterious gate. "Regardless of distance, open my divine eyes and see the truth." Uncle Jiu's eyes instantly glowed with a radiant golden light, as if piercing the netherworld. "Let me see what you truly are." Bai Yi's mastery of dark magic also gave him a faint sense of a suspended white figure circling the treasure house, refusing to enter. "Uncle Jiu, it seems you've made too much of a scene. The evil spirit has been frightened and is afraid to come in for now." "Don't worry. An evil spirit is a conglomeration of resentment and rage. Killing is an innate instinct, impossible to control. She'll come sooner or later." Uncle Jiu sneered. "If an evil spirit can refrain from killing someone it's long wanted to kill, is she still an evil spirit?" "That makes sense," Bai Yi agreed. "Indeed." After wandering for over 10 minutes, Samura still couldn't let go of Cowlson, Rachel, and the others. With a decisive move, he lunged towards the treasure house. Uncle Jiu remained undaunted. He formed a seal with his fingers and shouted, "You daring monster! I can tell at a glance that you're not human. Today, I'll expose your true colors. Arise." The formation Bai Yi had helped set took effect immediately. A burst of blue light trapped Samura and the entire treasure house. Samura was now trapped. Bai Yi also took out the gift Uncle Jiu had given him, 2 wooden willow leaves. He formed a seal with his fingers and then shone a small round mirror embedded in the leaves over his eyes. A flash of golden light allowed him to clearly see Samura. A pair of watery eyes, slender eyebrows, a small nose, a cherry-sized mouth, and delicate features. To be fair, if you ignore her slovenliness, Semla is so adorable you'd want to kiss her. It's fair to say that beauty transcends race, which is why Ninkachan, the senior, wanted to become a Death Knight. Rachel, from the American version of The Ring, played by Naomi Watts, is also the heroine of King Kong. Chapter 10 The Sword Comes. Semra also felt the threat of the formation and immediately turned back, attempting to break free. But when her body met a barrier of spiritual light, a sizzle erupted. The spiritual light collided with her resentment, like boiling water suddenly poured into a frying pan. "Ah!" Semra let out an eerie scream. A puff of green smoke rose from her body. Uncle Jiu sneered. "Having offended the Heavenly Master, you still want to leave?" This formation was specially designed by Uncle Jiu after studying Western ghosts and monsters. How could he let Semra come and go as he pleased? The pain intensified Semra's pale face, and her blood-red eyes fixed on Uncle Jiu. Though she was a murderous demon, she was no fool, and she knew Uncle Jiu was the one who had trapped her. Semra felt that while she couldn't break the formation that trapped her, she could defeat the one who had created it. Suddenly, Semra vanished. "You're such a jerk, and you dare show off your skills before an expert?" Uncle Jiu snorted coldly, forming a magical seal with his hands. The peach wood sword transformed into a stream of light and flew up. Quickly, he fastened a cross to the tip of the peach wood sword. It was a spiritual object given to him by Father Wu, specifically designed to ward off Western ghosts. Demon-chasing sword, go! With a single thrust from Uncle Jiu, the peach wood sword, adorned with a cross, transformed into a rainbow of light and stabbed out. The peach wood sword pierced the seemingly empty void, but unexpectedly, Semla emerged from her hiding place in the void and began to flee. "Huh?" Uncle Jiu sneered. Under his divine gaze, no demon could escape. The female ghost actually thought she could trick him like she tricked mortals. What a pipe dream. The peach wood sword soared, but Semla's speed was insufficient. She was struck several times by the peach wood sword, and her soul dimmed considerably. And how could Semra just take the beating without fighting back? A pair of green eyes flashed with murderous intent, and a sharp, terrifying scream emanated from his mouth. While dodging the mahogany sword, his claws reached out for Uncle Nine. Semra and Uncle Nine fought back and forth. It was a lively scene. Bai Yi was watching with great interest. But Rachel was terrified. If Uncle Nine lost, everyone here would be wiped out. Knowing the danger, Bai Yi had already found a hotel for Aunt May and Parker to stay in. Bai Yi himself knew black magic, and he had all sorts of gadgets given by Frog Boy, so he wasn't afraid of Semra. Mr. Bai Yi, can we win? Rachel had come to Bai Yi's side at some point, her beautiful eyes watching the fight between Uncle Nine and Semra with worry, and asked. It's okay. Bai Yi's nose was filled with a faint sweet fragrance. He smiled and whispered soothingly, Uncle Jiu is a professional when it comes to dealing with ghosts. You can always trust him. Yes, Rachel nodded, but her body couldn't stop trembling slightly. Before she knew it, Rachel's hand was entwined with Bai Yi's, and most of her weight rested on Bai Yi, making him feel warm and soft. Rachel felt a warm aura around Bai Yi. Only by being close to him could her body, trembling with fear, calm down a little. Bai Yi wasn't surprised at all. It was mainly because of his looks. From the left, he looked like Daniel Wu. From the right, like Lian Lai. From the front, like Fu Chang. From the back, like Yan Li. From the top, like Chu Wai. From the bottom, like Ekin. Cover his face and you'd see Edison Chen. So it was perfectly normal for a woman to want to be close to him, to find a sense of security in him. However, Bai Yi didn't take any initiative to do anything to Rachel. Because Bai Yi always adhered to his principles in relationships: no initiation, no rejection, no responsibility. In relationships, whoever takes things seriously first inevitably loses. In the battle with Uncle Jiu, Semra was clearly at a disadvantage. Uncle Jiu acted with incredible speed. He tapped the ground with his foot, drew an 8-trigram pattern, and a yellow talisman appeared in his hand. He drew it in the air, and with a flick of his sword, a yellow talisman was attached to Semra. Thunder and lightning talisman. Before Semra could find a chance to escape the talisman, dark clouds suddenly appeared above. With a crack, a bolt of lightning as thick as a python struck Semra. Semra screamed, her spirit dimming again. Uncle Jiu, however, took advantage of her weakness and struck her deadly with another sword thrust. Sword, the mahogany sword, adorned with a cross, pierced Semra's spirit head-on, pinning her directly to the wall. It took a direct blow from my ex-horse's sword, yet it's still here, Uncle Jiu exclaimed in surprise. It's certainly no ordinary ghost. Luckily, I was prepared. Uncle Jiu produced an ancient wine jar covered with yellow talismans. He slapped the red cloth off the jar, then used his sword finger to poke a small hole. He placed a small bagua mirror over the hole, then thrust it into the hole. He raised the jar, pointed it at Semra, and shouted, I'll take you. From the jar came a suction force that was irresistible to ghosts and spirits. Semra was immediately drawn in. Mission accomplished. A rare smile crossed Uncle Jiu's solemn face. Bai Yi came up with a smile and said, Uncle Jiu, is this a complete solution? This is a fierce ghost who has killed countless people and cannot be redeemed. Go light a frying pan later and I will fry her so that she can be completely reincarnated. Seeing that Bai Yi and Uncle Jiu seemed to be discussing the issue of disposing of the wine jar, Calson hurriedly came up and said, this wine jar is a supernatural object and must be handed over to SYNOPSIS for placement. It cannot be your private property. What about your mother? Bai Yi was unhappy and cursed directly, and said to Calson, he is so clumsy that he came up to grab the spoils? Uncle Jiu is trying to find a way to completely destroy this fierce ghost and solve the hidden dangers. Do you think everyone is like you SYLD people, with only selfish thoughts in their heads? Chapter 11 Maotian Master. Afterward, Bai Yi helped Uncle Nine light up the frying pan. Watching Uncle Nine deep fry the ghosts, Bai Yi said quietly, don't throw away the ghosts you just caught. Coat them in egg wash, coat them in breadcrumbs, and deep fry until golden and crispy. Drain the oil and remove them. Both the elderly and children love them. The kids next door are crying with envy. After confirming in person that Bai Yi and Uncle Nine weren't fooling him and were truly frying and completely destroying Semra, Calson returned to SHIELD headquarters that night. After hearing Calson's report, Nick Fury was slightly surprised. There are actually Taoist priests who specialize in hunting ghosts? Maotian sect. I think I've heard of it. It's probably a sect in China, Calson said. Before returning, I checked on the old man named Uncle Nine. He has no entry record, so he must have come here illegally. As for more information, we'll need the cooperation of the Chinese authorities before we can investigate. Nick Fury nodded slightly and said, I understand this matter. That's it for now. You file it. If there are any more ghostly incidents, perhaps we can contact Uncle Nine again to resolve them. Yes, Calson left the office. Nick Fury, however, began to look through other documents. His main focus was currently tied up in another matter, and he didn't have the energy to address Bai Yi and Uncle Nine's issues. Perhaps he would consider Bai Yi's affairs after he had dealt with this important matter at hand. Carlson returned to his room. After washing up, Carlson lay on the boat, eyes closed, and began to review the day's events, summarizing and reflecting. This was a habit Carlson had developed since becoming an agent, one of the reasons he'd changed partners so many times, yet none of them replaced him. Briefly reviewing the day's events, Carlson muttered to himself, "I always feel like I've overlooked something." He lay on the boat for half an hour, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. He flung back the covers, abandoning sleep altogether. Sitting at his desk, Carlson opened his computer and began to review the information he had been looking up. Ahem, Carlson coughed twice, brewed himself a cup of coffee, and stared intently at the computer. The mouse moved slowly downwards. Iron plate divination, Tai divination, Liren divination, Zui Dao Shu, knocking on a turtle shell, blind woman touching bones, birth year intersection, 8-character intersection, children's whooping cough, Wenhuanghua, Wuhuanghua, first 7 days of fasting and last 7 days of soul recalling, Ziping 8 characters 3 worlds book. Carlson looked at the abilities of the Chinese Taoist priests, and suddenly, his eyes froze, fixed on the 3 words, circular light technique. The circle of light technique is a form of locating spell. Legend has it that in ancient China, if a family lost a member or lost property, they would ask a Taoist priest to use the circle of light technique to retrieve them. Similar spells include the mysterious eye, ear report, golden mouth, and spirit writing. That's it, Carlson excitedly pumped his fist. As Nick Fury's confidant, Carlson knew that SHIELD had recently been preoccupied with a major task, the capture of Captain America, Steve Rogers. With the advancement of technology, Earth's high-ranking officials have increasingly realized the immense value of the human enhancement technology used by the former super soldier, Captain America, a technique impossible to replicate with the rapid advancements of modern society. Therefore, over the years, under the guidance of the World Security Council, SHIELD has persevered in its quest to capture Captain America in the Atlantic Ocean, intending to use him as a model for recreating the super soldier serum. Thanks to continuous breakthroughs in science and technology, SHIELD has narrowed down Captain America's location to a manageable search area. Perhaps Captain America will soon reappear. And just then, what did Carlson discover? A Taoist priest with real skills, capable of dealing with evil spirits. Would such a genuine Taoist master the locating magic that is their signature skill? Of course. Carlson quickly stood up, dressed, and headed for Nick Fury's office. "So, what you're saying is, if we can get this person involved in our operation, it will greatly reduce our workload and allow us to find the captain sooner, right?" Nick Fury pondered. "That's right," Carlson said excitedly. "Then I'll leave this matter to you." "I'll give you my full support," Nick Fury said solemnly, "but this matter is top secret. It must not be disclosed to anyone else until it's successful. Do you understand?" Carlson was stunned. After a brief hesitation of 2 seconds, he nodded firmly. "Understood." Facing the warm sunlight, Bai Yi walked out of the treasure house. He stretched, his joints crackling. His entire body felt numb. "Great," Bai Yi shouted with a laugh. "Ahem," Uncle Jiu coughed and walked down the hallway from upstairs, stretching his body as he went. Seeing Bai Yi, Uncle Jiu tried to appear nonchalant and greeted him. "Good morning." Bai Yi glanced at the sky. It was already noon. How could it still be early? "Okay," Bai Yi suppressed a laugh. Uncle Jiu's expression made it clear he'd been waiting on the stairs, waiting for him to emerge so he could engineer a chance encounter. Why? Because Bai Yi hadn't yet delivered the big yellow croaker he'd promised Uncle Jiu. Bai Yi stopped teasing Uncle Jiu. After all, Uncle Jiu had helped him earn over $1 million. "Uncle Jiu, someone has already delivered the generous gift you gave me for saving someone yesterday. I'll give it to you right away, don't worry, don't worry. I'm not in a rush at all." Uncle Jiu waved his hands. "Talk after dinner? You're clearly in a rush, aren't you?" Bai Yi smiled and shook his head. Without further ado, he turned and went into a room, carrying a box. Carlson's transfer was in US dollars, but the yellow croaker was Bai Yi's personal stash. It was hard currency, after all, and could be used anywhere. "There were 8 of us yesterday, so here are 16 yellow croaker. Check them out," No need. How could I not trust you? Uncle Jiu closed the box, his expression aloof. Actually, Uncle Jiu was probably even more familiar with Yellow Croaker than Bai Yi. How could he not tell the quality of these 16 pieces? They were all excellent. Then you're busy. I won't interrupt you. Uncle Jiu stood up and left calmly, but his steps betrayed his impatience. Inside the treasure house, Rachel emerged wearing Bai Yi's t-shirt. The loose shirt barely concealed Rachel's figure. She exuded a sense of sexiness and allure. Perhaps because she was a reporter, she had a more intellectual air. She asked cautiously, 200,000 US. I don't have that much money now. Can it be paid in installments? Well, after Uncle Jiu subdued the demons last night, it was already late at night. Rachel had nowhere to go. It happened that the Bai Yi family's boat was big and soft, so they let Rachel stay overnight. Chapter 12. I hate it most when someone points a gun at my head. No thanks, Bai Yi said with a smile. Actually, you should have guessed it. I made some money from the difference between Callison and the others and Uncle Nine. Uncle Nine only took $40,000, but I made quite a bit. What kind of relationship did they have now? How could Bai Yi accept her money? No way, Rachel insisted. You made money from Callison and the others, that's your own ability, and I should pay you back. After all, no one would choose $200,000 over their own life, and it's also true that you paid Uncle Nine $40,000 on my behalf. Rachel was too stubborn, and Bai Yi couldn't persuade her. In the end, it was agreed that Bai Yi would accept Rachel's $40,000 cost, to be paid in installments. Although Rachel was a journalist with a white-collar job, she was also a single mother. The cost of raising her son and educating him in New York was a huge expense. If it weren't for the child support her ex-husband still had to pay, she would have been deeply in debt. After signing the contract with Bai Yi, Rachel hurried away. She still had to pick up her son, Rory. Just as Bai Yi had sent Aunt May and Parker to a hotel, Rachel had also entrusted her son, Rory, to her best friend. Maybe back soon, right, Bai Yi muttered. We need to get the bedroom ready as soon as possible, because they were dealing with a dangerous ghost. He had sent Aunt May and Parker to a distant 5-star hotel, giving them a taste of luxury. Bai Yi turned and was about to enter the house. Crunch, with a sound of tires scraping against the ground, 3 black SUVs pulled up in front of Bai Yi's shop. Callison stepped out and approached Bai Yi. His usual gentle smile was gone, and he adopted a businesslike demeanor. Mr. Bai Yi, we've received a request from the Immigration Bureau. We need Uncle Nine to come with us. Callison presented a document. Bai Yi looked at Callison in confusion. Have you been kicked in the head by a donkey, Mr. Bai Yi? Callison had no intention of joking with Bai Yi, and said expressionlessly, Uncle Nine has no entry record. He is an illegal immigrant, so the Immigration Bureau decided to deport Uncle Nine. Turning your back on someone, Bai Yi smiled and said, Coulson, you Mediterranean? Don't forget how you guys trembled when facing Semla last night? If it weren't for Uncle Nine, you would have died 180 times, but now you tell me that you want to deport Uncle Nine, Mr. Bai Yi, we just did a business deal last night, $200,000 per person, right? Although Callison felt a little uneasy in his heart, he didn't show it on his face. One thing is one thing, this has nothing to do with her deporting Uncle Nine now. Can her life be completely offset by $200,000? Bai Yi sneered and said, or, I transfer $200,000 to you, and you return your life now, Mr. Bai Yi, please stop talking nonsense. We represent the Immigration Bureau, Callison emphasized and said, Uncle Nine has violated immigration laws and must be punished by law. Don't talk nonsense to me here, Bai Yi sneered and said, the so-called law is just a tool that people like you can play with at will. Others may not know what your shield is, but how can I not know it? Tell me frankly, what do you want to do? If you want Uncle Nine to do things for you, fine, just pay the reward. Callison's current attitude made Bai Yi very unhappy, very unhappy. The amount of this reward should at least be doubled from Bai Yi's original expectation. Mr. Bai Yi, please don't slander me, Callison said sternly. This arrest warrant issued by the Immigration Bureau is completely legal and compliant. If you have any questions, please feel free to file a complaint. Bai Yi sized up Callison and said with a smile, are you really kidding me? You're forcibly resisting arrest in front of me? Do you really think? He leaned in close to Callison and whispered, I don't dare to stand up to you, SHIELD. Without blinking, Carlson said, Mr. Bai Yi, are you planning to violently resist law enforcement? We have the power to shoot you dead on the spot. Shoot me dead? Haha, ha ha ha. Bai Yi laughed heartily. If you can do it, then come on, Zizzy. Bai Yi was instantly enveloped in a blue electric current. Arcs flickered continuously, gradually forming a lightning armor around his body. Lightning chakra mode. Bai Yi was bathed in thunder, even his eyes turned a deep blue, and he exuded an intimidating and powerful aura. In this moment, Bai Yi was like the god of thunder, the ruler of all punishments, awe-inspiring and untouchable. Carlson was a bit frightened, a hand on the butt of his rifle as he shouted, Mr. White Knight, don't be impulsive. You're still young. Don't go down the path of crime. His previous collaboration with White Knight had been pleasant, and he really didn't want to let things get this bad. But SHIELD's mission was paramount. There was nothing he could do. Carlson seemed gentle and affable, but if you were foolish enough to trust an agent, you'd be doomed. Everyone at SHIELD was practically cut from the same cloth as Nick Fury, and Carlson was no exception. Life is a matter of addition and subtraction. For the survival of all humanity, if you need to die, SHIELD will help you if you don't want to. But White Knight wouldn't buy it. Dare to stab me in the face? Even if you're SHIELD, I won't tolerate that. Seeing White Knight's powerful supernatural abilities on display, Carlson's agents were no longer so polite. They drew their guns, released the safety, and aimed at White Knight. If White Knight moved even a little, they were ready to shoot. Bai Yi, I can assure you, Uncle Nine just needs to come with us. His safety won't be in any danger, Carlson continued. If all goes well, we'll have Uncle Nine back in less than a week. Zzz, lightning flashed from Bai Yi's body. Carlson was startled. Turning back, he saw all the SHIELD agents he'd brought with him, lying on the ground. How could this be possible? Carlson's eyes nearly popped out of his head. 9 agents, all taken out by Bai Yi in the blink of an eye? Bai Yi retracted his lightning-encrusted fist and said coldly, I hate it when someone points a gun at my head, but someone always does it. P.S. Let's answer the following questions together. First, why were Carlson and SHIELD so foolish as to provoke the protagonist? The answer is simple. Before consuming the thunder fruit, the protagonist was nothing more than a grasshopper to be crushed at will in the eyes of SHIELD's eyes. Even with his special abilities, he was just a grasshopper that jumped a little higher, in no way qualified to negotiate with SHIELD. Only the protagonist, having consumed the thunder fruit, is qualified to speak to SHIELD on an equal footing. The problem is, Carlson and SHIELD are unaware of the protagonist's recent consumption of the thunder fruit. They don't even know what the thunder fruit is. Secondly, why is the protagonist so soft-hearted towards Carlson? It's simple. He showed no mercy to Carlson. He employed reciprocal retaliation. From beginning to end, Carlson used coercion and inducement, following SHIELD procedures. He never once fired a gun at the protagonist. Is it really necessary for the protagonist to kill him? Don't forget, SHIELD is a legitimate organization with 200,000 agents and backed by the 5 largest nations on the planet. Unless you have the power to go to war with these 5 nations, do you really have the right to casually kill SHIELD agents? SHIELD isn't some random, backed-up gang. Killing SHIELD agents at will is like stirring up a hornet's nest. Why would the protagonist unnecessarily stir up a hornet's nest? Doesn't justifying reciprocal retaliation mean being a wimp? Third, why do SHIELD and the Hand suffer different fates when both offend the protagonist? Is the protagonist being hypocritical, licking SHIELD's boots on the wall? Brother, SHIELD is an official organization that maintains global order, while the Hand is a murderous, arsonist, kidnapping, and gun-toting mafia. Are these two the same? Whether from a moral perspective or from the perspective of the protagonist's interests, it's impossible to treat them the same way. Look at Deadpool, he's crazy, bloody, and violent, and there's no one he wouldn't kill, but when has he ever killed a police officer? Of course, whenever SHIELD infringes on the protagonist's core interests, they'll still die. Alice, finally, please read this book again. This book isn't performing very well, and I need your support. Chapter 13 Thundergod arrives. Carlson swallowed hard. This time, he felt like he'd gotten out of hand. He'd thought that with the power of SHIELD, he'd be able to force Bai Yi to surrender. But now, Bai Yi showed no fear of SHIELD. Bai Yi was half suspended in midair, surrounded by lightning, like the god of thunder descending. He met Calison's gaze with a cold expression. "I'll ask again, are you going to forcibly arrest Uncle Nine in front of me?" Calison couldn't help but feel a tinge of fear for Bai Yi at this moment. But he represented SHIELD, and SHIELD wouldn't bow to a single individual. Mr. Bai Yi, killing me is useless. Uncle Nine violated immigration laws. Even if I'm gone, someone else will come and arrest him. Calison gritted his teeth. Crunch, another sound of tires screeching inside, and a red Bentley pulled up to the door of the Amway treasure house. A beautiful woman, clad in high heels, wearing the sexiest, most eye-catching dress, with dazzling blonde hair, carrying the most fashionable backpack, and cradling a similarly dressed puppy in her arms, emerged from the car like a red rose among thorns. Oh my God, Elle Woods, a renowned New York City lawyer nicknamed Legally Blonde, stared in disbelief at Bai Yi, who was shrouded in lightning. "Bai Yi, what's wrong with you? Are you getting an electric shock?" "Nothing," Bai Yi said coldly, dispelling the lightning from his body. He reached out to Elle Woods and said, "Where are the documents I asked you to help me with?" Oh, fascinated by Bai Yi's aura, Elle Woods didn't dare to delay and quickly handed a stack of documents to Bai Yi. Bai Yi took it, didn't even glance at it, and threw it at Calison. "This is Uncle Nine's entry and exit permit. It's a completely legal document for entering Hong Kong. After all, the United States lives in a capitalist society. If you have money, there's nothing you can't do." Last night, Bai Yi called Elle Woods and asked her to help him get his Uncle Nine entry and exit permits and Hong Kong Island ID. He didn't know when he would return to his world, so these documents were essential. Unexpectedly, they came in handy right here. As for Elle Woods, she was Bai Yi's best friend. It was she who helped Bai Yi get his ID after arriving in New York from his otherworldly world. As a renowned New York City lawyer, this was a piece of cake for Elle Woods. Elle Woods was a rare talent in the legal profession. Her parents were both in the entertainment industry, and she won the Miss Hawaii title right out of high school. She could have relied on her looks for the rest of her life, but she chose talent and applied to Harvard Law School. However, she found success, ultimately graduating with the highest rank in the law school. Furthermore, this legally blonde was a master at getting women, maintaining friendly relationships with numerous female legislators, politicians, billionaires, and top female celebrities. In particular, Senator Rudd, now a prominent figure in the Elephant Party, once employed this legally blonde as her assistant. Calison took the document, examined it, and his mouth twitched. Yes, it was indeed completely legal and compliant. How could this be possible? "Agent Calison, if no one else is concerned, then please get out of here," Bai Yi said rudely. Could Calison really just leave? Impossible. The plan to capture Captain America was SHIELD's top priority. Even if he died here, Uncle Nine had to be brought back to SHIELD. Well, Captain America himself was just a sidekick. Replicating the super soldier serum was the real goal. Just as Calison was flanked by men, a heavily armed force advanced rapidly. A beam of infrared light aimed directly at Bai Yi's chest. Since retrieving Uncle Nine was a crucial mission for SHIELD, it was impossible to simply ask Calison to complete the task with just 9 agents. Calison and his team were merely the vanguard of negotiations. If the talks fell apart, then it would be time for the armed forces to move in. "I really didn't intend for this to happen," Calison said with a wry smile. "Bai Yi, give up resistance. We won't make things difficult for you, or even for Uncle Nine." What happened? Uncle Nine was bewildered. He had just been scrambling for a while in his room to find the big yellow croaker he had just found. He stepped outside to see soldiers armed to the teeth gradually surrounding the building. Bai Yi glanced at Calison and said, "This bastard wants to kidnap you and exploit your abilities for their own benefit." Uncle Nine's eyes narrowed. Honestly, he had encountered ungrateful individuals before, but never anything like Calison and his team. "They saved your life last night, and now they're kidnapping me without even giving me a break?" "Uncle Nine, don't worry. You won't be in any danger. All you need to do is come with us, do us a small favor, and we'll be back." Calison spoke to Uncle Nine in his broken Chinese. Uncle Nine glanced at Calison, then at the approaching armed forces. He leaned closer to Bai Yi and said, "Zio Bai, A true man never suffers a loss. They're outnumbered now, so I'll go with them for now." As he spoke, Uncle Nine leaned closer to Bai Yi and whispered, "Don't worry. When I find the opportunity, I'll make sure those foreign devils pay." You see, Uncle Nine isn't the type to repay kindness with grievance. On the contrary, Uncle Nine is petty. He may not repay a favor, but he will certainly seek revenge. And for a Taoist as powerful as Uncle Nine to seek revenge, he'd better prepare his own coffin. Tony got into the Lamborghini Veneno in his garage and headed for Bai Yi's Amway treasure house. He spent 2 days at home, studying the potion Bai Yi had given him, day and night. The stock of potions was almost gone. So he planned to go to Bai Yi and buy a few dozen more bottles. When he arrived at the street outside the Amway treasure house, he found that the street was blocked. If it was somewhere else, it would be fine. He could just take a detour, but the blockade was clearly around Bai Yi's treasure house, which made Tony think twice. He used Jarvis to hack into the blockade agency's headquarters. With Tony's intelligence, he naturally figured out the whole story quickly. A secret agency wanted to requisition Bai Yi's friends under all kinds of ridiculous excuses, and Bai Yi wanted to protect his friends, so he started a fight. What else can he say? He would risk his life for his friends. Stark Group bodyguards intercepted the people at the blockade, and Tony drove through the blockade. Crack, the Lamborghini Veneno stopped at the door of the treasure house. Tony got out of the car and yelled at Carlson, who is obviously the person in charge, "What department are you from? Who gave you the authority to block the streets? Who gave you the authority to aim a sniper rifle at my friend, Mr. Stark?" Carlson looked at Tony in astonishment and said, "We have something to discuss with Mr. Bai Yi. This has nothing to do with you." "Right, who said it has nothing to do with you?" Tony didn't care about the infrared ray aimed at Bai Yi. He walked forward and stood with Bai Yi. He even put his arm around Bai Yi's shoulders and said, "He is my good brother who shared the same quilt with me." Elle Woods, from Legally Blonde, played by Reese Withers. Chapter 14, Queen of Law. "You're being so disgusting, it's like I have some secret relationship with you." Bai Yi pushed Tony away in a bad mood. Tony didn't care at all. He had something even more disgusting to say. Anyway, Bai Yi must not die now. At this stage, anyone who wants to kill Bai Yi is basically trying to kill Tony, and it would be strange if he didn't fight to the death. "If you want to touch my brother, you must step over my dead body first," Tony said without hesitation. Elle Woods, also holding up his phone, said, "Agent, my phone has recorded the entire incident. You initially harassed my client because his friend had no immigration record, but in reality, those documents were left in my office for legal consultation. If this were a misunderstanding, you could just apologize and leave, and that would be it. But, instead of reflecting on your mistakes, you launched a terrorist attack on my client, targeting his vitals with infrared beams from a sniper rifle, and intimidating him. I will definitely sue you in federal court. America is not a lawless place. No matter how special your department is, you must abide by American laws." Carlson was now in a dilemma. What should he do? With a capitalist Tony Stark and White Knight standing side by side, launching an attack would likely result in consequences, a responsibility he couldn't afford. With a Queen of Law filming, his every move could have serious consequences. Turn around and leave? Impossible. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s mission always comes first. Carlson took a deep breath and said, "I didn't want to do this, but now that things have come to this, I have nothing more to say." He produced another document. "This is an arrest warrant issued by the Department of Homeland Security. Uncle Nine is suspected of endangering national security. On behalf of the Department of Homeland Security, I am formally arresting him. If he resists, I will kill him on the spot. Mr. Stark, Ms. L., do you need to verify the authenticity of this warrant?" Elle Woods' eyes darkened. If it was truly a DHS warrant, then even she wouldn't be able to help Bai Yi. Not even Tony Stark, the playboy, could help Bai Yi. A national security threat was too serious a charge. "Is it real? Show me the warrant." Tony held out his hand. Carlson handed it to Tony. This warrant was absolutely authentic and valid. Even if Tony took his case to the Secretary of Homeland Security and the President, he wouldn't be afraid. Swish, Tony tore up the warrant in his hand. He reached out to Carlson again. "This is clearly a child's graffiti. It's fake. Where's the real arrest warrant you mentioned? Show it to me." Carlson's forehead throbbed. "Mr. Stark, you dared to rip up the Department of Homeland Security's arrest warrant? Even you'd be in big trouble. Come on. If you have the guts, just have the Secretary of Homeland Security sue me in federal court." Tony curled his lips and said, "Stark Enterprises' legal department is willing to challenge the Department of Homeland Security for a fair fight. America is a capitalist world, a world dominated by the military-industrial complex. Tony, America's largest arms dealer, is at the top of the food chain. Not to mention that he now controls a cold fusion reactor. Who would dare to touch him?" After Callison's brain congestion subsided, he quickly calmed down, displaying the qualities of a mature agent. Mr. Stark, even if you destroyed the arrest warrant issued by the Department of Homeland Security, we must arrest Uncle Nine today. Please step aside. Otherwise, if we hurt you, it will be unpleasant for everyone." "Tony, it seems your face isn't as important as you think," Bai Yi scoffed. "They said they wouldn't give you face, so they didn't. What can you do to them?" Tony was furious and seemed about to make some harsh remarks. "Let me do it." Bai Yi waved his hand, glanced at Callison, and said with a bright smile, "I've always said it, I hate it when someone points a gun at my head." The next moment, a flash of lightning flashed. Bai Yi's figure disappeared in front of Callison, Woods, Tony, and Uncle Nine. Where did he go? The sniper on the high ground was startled. The target he had locked onto suddenly disappeared into thin air. It was a ghost. This was the first time in his sniper career that he had ever encountered such a thing. "Are you looking for me?" a cold voice sounded above him. The sniper looked up. Bai Yi, wrapped in lightning, was floating above his head, awe-inspiring like an immortal. The sniper instinctively dropped his sniper rifle and reached for the dagger at his waist. But Bai Yi suddenly kicked the sniper's head. The next second, his figure disappeared again. Then, several bullets hit the position originally occupied by Bai Yi. Bang! 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 About 5 or 6 seconds later, after Callison heard a series of crisp sounds, Bai Yi's figure reappeared in front of Callison and Woods. "What hidden cards do you have left at SYNOPSIS? Pull them all out. I'll have some fun with you today." Bai Yi twisted his neck, a sinister grin on his face. "If you don't have any, go back and tell your superiors there won't be a next time. Otherwise, haha. I'll tear his head off and kick it like a ball." Before he ate the thunder fruit, he might have been somewhat wary of SHIELD, but after eating it, he was completely terrified. Even if Big Mom Marvel returned from the universe, Bai Yi wouldn't be intimidated. While he might not be a match for Big Mom Marvel in sheer physical strength, the Thunder Fruit's elemental transformation meant that attacks without specialized means were mere scratchings. Just like with Samira, if it weren't for Uncle Nine, how could SHIELD ever deal with her? And there was no such thing as a powerful force that could counter a nature-type devil fruit. Callison was stumped. All the men he had brought with him had been killed by Bai Yi, who had only kindly left him alone to deliver the message. What else could he do now? Was he going to rely on his mouth to apprehend Uncle Nine? There is no doubt that Callison left in a daze. Tony also saw that Bai Yi still had a lot of things to deal with here, so he bought 50 bottles of Norton's Skilled HP Potion from Bai Yi, paid $500 million, and left in style. Uncle Jiu went upstairs. In the Amway treasure house, for a moment, only Bai Yi and Woods were left. "Bai Yi, what is going on? Why did you provoke that kind of trash?" Woods asked with concern. "From the looks of them, I guess they won't give up. If it doesn't work this time, there may be a next time." Bai Yi sneered. "Am I afraid of them? Let's not talk about them." Bai Yi felt that his mood at the moment was very similar to Liang Kun's. He stretched out his hand and put it on Woods' head. "I'm very angry now. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 15 Master. Woods helped Bai Yi to get the identity certificate for Uncle Jiu, and Bai Yi had nothing to say in return. He gave her a lotus ring as a token of his appreciation. When Woods left, she seemed to be very satisfied with the gifts. He was still in a bad mood. After Aunt May came back, Bai Yi asked Aunt May to watch the store and went out. He didn't go far. After a few steps, through the dense crowd, he came to a dojo. Pushing the door and walking in, Bai Yi saw an Asian woman in cool clothes inside, chopping a wooden man with a wooden sword. She was in her 20s, a little petite, with a fair and soft face and a slim figure. She was also a beauty. This was the owner of the dojo, Colleen Wing. Colleen, Bai Yi greeted her with a smile. Bai Yi, Colleen paused her chopping, lowering her wooden sword. Sweat streamed down her cheeks, but a smile crossed her face. You're here, Bai Yi, let's have a fight, how about it? Wiping her face with a towel, she took a sip of mineral water and said, very good. It's been a while since we've sparred, and I wonder if you've regressed. In his previous world, Bai Yi had practiced some fighting techniques, but they were all haphazard and unsystematic. After arriving in the Marvel Universe, Bai Yi felt that more skills were better, and he decided to learn more. So, by chance, he found Colleen Wing as his martial arts instructor. Hoping to learn more from her, he first relied on his excellent interpersonal skills to become her good friend. Later, Colleen's dedication to Bai Yi's teachings noticeably improved. Thus, Bai Yi's systematic fighting techniques gradually took shape with Colleen Wing's help. Are you ready? Colleen Wing, her hands wrapped in bandages, looked at Bai Yi with a serious expression. Well, the two donned their jis and stood on the ring. Alright, Bai Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Before obtaining the Thunder Fruit, Bai Yi's fighting skills alone were enough to subdue Colleen Wing. Although he was Colleen Wing's disciple, Han Yu aptly said, a disciple need not be inferior to his master, and a master need not be superior to his disciple. Colleen Wing, however formidable, was still immortal, while Bai Yi had the added benefit of the Dragon Balls. Naturally, their progress was drastically different. Shall we begin? Colleen Wing asked. Begin, Bai Yi nodded. Colleen circled Bai Yi several times and launched the first attack. With a single step and a powerful stomp, she lunged at Bai Yi like an arrow. Bai Yi crouched slightly to the left, quickly getting to Colleen's side, rising high and delivering a vicious elbow strike to Colleen's lungs. A solid hit would surely render Colleen incapacitated. But how could Colleen be so easily defeated? Without Bai Yi's cheats, relying solely on his true abilities, he could only marginally outmatch her. Colleen blocked with her arms, leaping back to absorb the force. Bang! Colleen's arm collided with Bai Yi's elbow, sending her back several steps and instantly feeling a stinging pain in her arm, like a needle prick. It's been a while since we last met, and your fitness has improved significantly. Colleen shook her arm, looking at Bai Yi in surprise. It's mainly because I'm very self-disciplined and keep exercising, Bai Yi said cheekily. It was the lightning release chakra mode that had done the trick. Come again. Colleen unleashed a powerful whip kick from her back leg, hurling it at Bai Yi's face. Bai Yi tensed, facing her attack. He used his left hand to block Colleen's blow, then delivered a powerful right punch to the joint of Colleen's leg. This was the martial arts technique he'd learned from Colleen Wen, seeing through the flaws in the enemy's moves and attacking the weak spots before they could defend. And how could Colleen not remember that this was something she'd taught Bai Yi? Colleen steadied herself, shifting her weight forward, and launched a downward kick towards Bai Yi's abdomen. You're even trying to kick me there, Colleen. You're going too far, Bai Yi cried out, dodging the blow with a jerk. Pa, Colleen spat, her cheeks flushing slightly. She continued her attack. She stepped sideways, twisted her waist, and her entire spine formed like a dragon. With a sudden, twisting step, she rushed in front of Bai Yi, thrusting a punch upward, aiming for Bai Yi's chin. Bai Yi leaped back, avoiding Colleen's punch. Colleen, however, refused to give in. Her footwork stomped relentlessly, like a thorn in her flesh, relentlessly pursuing her. Fists, palms, elbows, knees, and feet, every part of her body transformed into a deadly weapon. Bai Yi, using the Bagua footwork, 8 steps and 8 variations, dodging and stomping simultaneously for 64 steps, his body moving like a ghost, making it impossible for Colleen to strike. Master Colleen, don't show any weakness, or I'll knock you out with one strike. Tisk, you're too early to knock me out. After a thrilling fight, Colleen, panting, said, Alice, the old saying, teach the apprentice, starve the master, is truly true. Bai Yi, master, I'm completely defeated by you now. At this moment, Bai Yi launched his legs, piercing Colleen's neck and bear's groin. He pinned Colleen's arms in front of the bear's groin with his hands, and thrust his hips hard, forcing Colleen into submission. With this, Bai Yi and Colleen's bodies intertwined in a cross position, forming a standard cross armbar. Don't say that. Master, your skills have been honed to perfection. I'm just relying on my superior physique to have a slight edge. Bai Yi released Kaylin and said with a smile, if you're a man, master, I wouldn't be your match right now. Don't try to comfort me. In this world, victory is victory, defeat is defeat. There's no need for so much logic. Kaylin shook her head and said, do you think that when you're fighting an enemy, will they still care about you being a woman? Bai Yi touched his nose. He had nothing to say. Indeed. The winner takes all, that's the truth of the world. By the way, Bai Yi, the pipe in my kitchen is broken. Can you help me fix it? Kaylin pointed in the direction of the kitchen, where water seeped, and said, no problem, a disciple should do his best, and Bai Yi certainly couldn't refuse his teacher. Fortunately, he had worked as a plumber and learned the skills of plumbing. Chapter 16. Are you always so brave? Teacher Colleen is truly a teacher. She's just different. Bai Yi walked out of Colleen's gym and flexed his waist. After battling Colleen, he felt every muscle in his body flex. The endorphin rush after an intense battle was exhilarating, but afterward, he felt like his whole body was falling apart. Luckily, he'd recently used his lightning release chakra mode to strengthen his physique, otherwise, he'd probably have to rest for a few days before running around again. Learning martial arts isn't easy these days. Bai Yi shook his head and headed home. Upon arrival, Aunt May, as usual, made Bai Yi a cup of goji berry tea. She didn't ask about what happened that morning. After a year with Bai Yi, she knew her boundaries and wouldn't cross them. That's why Aunt May was the only one who could always be by Bai Yi's side. Aunt May's thoughtfulness and understanding were what Bai Yi appreciated most. The entire afternoon passed as Bai Yi read magazines. Bai Yi and Aunt May were ready to close the shop. A man walked in with a frivolous gait. His white teeth gleamed, and murderous intent glittered in his maniacal eyes. In one hand, he carried a small suitcase, and in the other, he played with a deck of cards. His long coat dragged on the ground, and a signature scar etched itself on his forehead. Did Kingpin send you here to buy something? Bai Yi sized him up and said, where's Erica? Erica's busy, so I came today. Is there a problem? The man's lips curled into a smile. No problem, but if I hear tomorrow morning that someone has been murdered by him around here, believe me, even Kingpin won't be able to save you, Bai Yi said seriously. The man's markings were unmistakable, and Bai Yi knew who he was at a glance. Bullseye. Once a notorious assassin in the underworld, he became the chief assassin for the New York underworld overlord, Kingpin, to make money. Wow, I'm so scared. I'm about to pee my pants. Bullseye laughed exaggeratedly. Haha, Bai Yi said with a wry smile, tell me, what does Jin Bing want to buy this time? The weapons I sold him last time should be enough for him to use for a few years. The weapons you sell are really good, light and convenient, and very lethal. Bullseye fiddled with the dagger in his pocket and said ancient canine-toothed dagger. Bai Yi took a look at it. It was the dagger he sold to Kingpin. It was a low-level weapon for the night messenger profession. He had as many as he wanted. They were just scrap metal. Bullseye even showed it off in front of him. Be careful. Many things in my store are very expensive. If I break them, you won't be able to afford the compensation even if I sell your flesh by the pound. Okay, tell me straight. What exactly does Kingpin want you to do? Bullseye put the dagger into his pocket and said, Boss, I heard that Tony Stark spent $500 million to buy 50 life potions from you. You guys are quite well informed, Bai Yi said in surprise. I just sold it this morning, and you received the news this afternoon. The boss said that if the news is true, he wants 10 of the same potion as Tony Stark. Sure, $10 million each. Anyone can buy it. Bai Yi shrugged and said, but I see that you don't seem to have brought enough money. Bullseye only had a small suitcase with him. Even if it was filled with diamonds, it wouldn't be worth a small target. Haha, Bullseye chuckled and opened the suitcase. His eyes revealed a hint of disdain for Bai Yi. I wonder if you've ever heard of bearer bonds. Bearer bonds from a Swiss bank, with a limit of $100 million. If you don't understand, you can ask someone who does to verify it. Of course I know about bearer bonds, but I think cash is more suitable for people like you. After all, it eliminates the money laundering process. Bai Yi glanced at Bullseye, caught a bond he tossed to him, and examined it. It was indeed real. Bai Yi rubbed the silver ring on his left hand, then placed his hand on the table and flicked it. 10 bottles of Norton's Skilled HP potions appeared on the table. This is the potion Kingpin wants. I'm not responsible for it once it leaves my hands. Tisk, tisk, just a small bottle, and it's worth $10 million. Bullseye said in amazement. The pharmaceutical business is really lucrative. Take the stuff, and you can leave, Bai Yi said calmly. Also, remember to tell Kingpin that next time you want to buy something, ask Erica to come. If you're the one who comes next time, then we'll have no business together. Compared to the beautiful and sexy Erica, Bullseye was too shabby. He didn't like dealing with crazy people. He had a crazy gene in him, and if he stayed with a crazy person for too long, he'd be easily led astray. Why are you in such a hurry? Bullseye said with a grin. Bai Yi tilted his head and stared at Bullseye with a cold gaze. Is there anything else I can do for you? The boss has bought everything he wanted to buy, but I still have something I want to buy, Bullseye said. Oh, you want to buy it? Bai Yi narrowed his eyes, a hint of danger glimmering deep in his eyes. I think the ring on your left hand is quite nice. How about selling it to me? Bullseye's smile turned a little crazy, and he pointed at Bai Yi's space ring. Haha, Bai Yi smiled brightly. My ring is very expensive. How much do you want to pay for it? I don't need money, Bullseye shook his head. Then what do you want to buy it with? Bai Yi said. If it's something of great value, barter is not a problem. Bullseye pondered for a moment, then looked up at Bai Yi. Do you have enough life? Of course I do, Bai Yi, but I don't know if you have the guts to take it. Their eyes met. A silver shadow shot out like a stream of light. It was a playing card. Bullseye possesses a natural throwing ability, capable of hurling any object with incredible precision. Playing cards, toothpicks, and other objects can become lethal weapons in his hands. He can rip a person's throat with a playing card, a simple manipulation. Bai Yi, with a smile on his face, doesn't dodge or evade, remaining motionless. Bullseye wonders, is this man courting death? He can't believe a peddler of magical items could be so vulnerable to his most basic killing tactics. Swish, but Bullseye watches as the playing card pierces Bai Yi's throat unhindered and becomes pinned to the wall behind him. Bai Yi flicked the dust off his neck. Do you need to continue? I can play poker with you here all day long. Bullseye took a breath of cold air and retreated quickly. What kind of monster are you? Isn't it too late to think of running away now? With a flash of blue light, Bai Yi instantly appeared behind Bullseye. He stretched out his hand, pressed Bullseye's head, put his hand close to Bullseye's ear, smiled and said, I'm really a little curious, are you always so brave? Chapter 17 You're like a pineapple. Bang! Bai Yi grabbed Bullseye's head and slammed it directly onto the concrete floor in front of the treasure house. A flash of electric arcs accompanied the powerful energy, generating a surging wind like a wave that washed over the entire street. Standing in front of Bullseye in the pit, Bai Yi muttered to himself, is it because I haven't taken action in so long that everyone treats me like a soft persimmon, ready to be squeezed at will? Even someone like Bullseye dares to challenge me. He sneered twice and made a phone call. King Bing, come and clean up. Fisk Tower. King Bing looked at Bullseye, who had been returned from the operating room, and his eyes twitched slightly. He regretted sending Bullseye to do serious work. Bullseye was only good at killing. But Erica had been sent out on a mission, and for the time being, Bullseye was the only person he could use. How could a $100 million Swiss bank bearer bond, or a magical item of equal value, be safely left in the hands of an ordinary subordinate? Doctor, how is the patient? King Byung's highly paid personal physician hesitated. His condition is still critical and requires observation, but what? King Byung had a bad feeling. The doctor said, even if he's saved, he'll likely be paralyzed. Fuck, King Byung cursed. Bullseye's only value was his ability to kill. Now paralyzed, his value is practically zero. King Byung would practically lose Bullseye forever. The loss of his chief assassin inevitably diminished his own strength. This made King Byung want to rush into the operating room and slap Bullseye. I told you to buy medicine, so just buy it. Why provoke that guy, if you were so easy to deal with? Do you think I'd need to pay him for his medicine? Couldn't I just rob him? In the office, Kingpin breathed a sigh of relief as he looked at the 10 intact bottles of Norton's skilled HP potion. If Bullseye were gone, and the potions were gone too, even he would be choking on blood. After pondering for a moment in his office, Kingpin exhaled and made a phone call. Kingpin? What do you want, Mr. Osborn? I've collected a magical potion you'll surely be interested in. Norman Osborn was silent for a moment, then said, I'm at the office now. You can have it delivered. 2 hours later, a black Lincoln limousine pulled out of Osborn Tower. Kingpin was in high spirits. He'd sold Norman Osborn a potion that cost $10 million each for $20 million. He'd even earned a big favor from Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn had promised to find a way to cure Bullseye. The Osborn Corporation was the world's largest biological and medical conglomerate, possessing numerous untold biotechnologies. With the right investment, paralysis wasn't an incurable disease. For example, a biological exoskeleton that connects nerves? But the issue with Bai also needs to be resolved, Jin Bing pondered. His value is even greater than I thought. It would be a shame to lose this partner over such a trivial matter. The next day, early in the morning, Bai was lounging on a soft chair in the Amway treasure house, sipping goji berry tea and playing a mobile game. His phone rang. Damn, that idiot again, interrupting me at this hour, Bai cursed. He was in the middle of a crucial game. Hello, want to treat me to dinner? Okay. After a few words, Bai hung up. Who is it? Aunt May asked curiously. Jin Bing. He wants to treat me to dinner and apologize for what happened last night, Bai said. Oh, do you want me to go with you? Aunt May asked. No, Jin Bing is not a good person. It's best if you don't get involved with him in the slightest, Bai said. I can go alone. Aunt May said nothing more, looking down at her beauty magazine. Mr. Bai, thank you for your visit. You have made my humble home truly glorious. Jin Bing hosted Bai at his own villa. If Mr. Fisk's home is a humble home, then isn't my place a doghouse? Bai laughed. Haha, Jin Bing chuckled. Mr. Bai, you really know how to joke. Standing next to Jin Bing was a woman. This is my girlfriend, Vanessa. Vanessa, Mr. Bai, you are my honored guest. You must not neglect me. Vanessa's bright eyes shone brightly as she looked at Bai and extended her hand. Mr. Bai, it's a pleasure to meet you. Bai couldn't help but give her face and shook Vanessa's hand. But he raised his eyebrows, and Vanessa actually scratched the palm of his hand. At the banquet, Jin Bing raised his glass. Mr. Bai, this incident was my fault, but I promise there won't be a next time. I'll drink 3 glasses of wine as apology, Mr. Bai. Mr. Fisk, you're too polite. It's just a small matter. Just explain it clearly. It's not worth it, Mr. Fisk, for you to be so serious, Bai chuckled. Of course, Jin Bing wouldn't take Bai's polite words seriously and insist on apologizing. In fact, if Jin Bing really took advantage of the situation. After the apology, the banquet was in full swing. Mr. Bai, you're not from New York, are you? Jin Bing asked. Yes, Bai nodded. I'm from Hong Kong Island. I only came to New York in the last 2 years to make a living. I'm a native New Yorker, Jin Bing rambled on and on. After some small talk, the atmosphere was set. Kingpin tentatively asked, Mr. Bai, the life potion you provide is truly remarkable. I wonder if I could buy more from you. Of course, I'm open for business, and I'll sell to anyone who comes, Bai said, tasting a steak. That's great. I'll take 20 this time. It was the money Kingpin had received from Norman Osborn. Both host and guest were delighted. It was just that the eldest sister-in-law's constant petty antics made Bai wonder if Kingpin's head was covered in a patch of green grass. Before leaving, standing at the door of Jin Bing's villa, Bai, with sympathy in his eyes, patted his shoulder, shook his head and sighed. This woman is like an egg, hard on the outside, pure inside when the skin is peeled off, but yellow on the inside. A man is like a mango, yellow on the outside, even yellower inside after peeling, and you are different. You are like a pineapple, yellow on the inside, but green on the top. Jin Bing, to clarify, Bai does not have the power system of Anel's pirate world, nor does he have Anel's mind network, so he has to figure out how to develop the thunder fruit on his own. Therefore, whether it is ninjutsu or other things, Bai is learning how to control the thunder fruit. It is not that he can do everything all of a sudden after getting the thunder fruit, and develop it to a level stronger than Anel. Everything has to take a process, right? Things like thunder release ninjutsu are just Bai's transitional means. Chapter 18 I am face blind and sometimes I can't tell who my brothers are. Back at the treasure house, Bai and Uncle Jiu sat side by side on soft chairs. I might not be able to go back, Uncle Jiu sighed. It's been several days, and there's still no sign of that frog. That's normal. I often don't get any news from the frogs for 10 days or half a month. He's very willful, Bai said. So I really have to live here from now on. Uncle Jiu looked at the tall buildings outside and said, but what can I do here? In this modern society, Everything Uncle Jiu knew has been turned upside down. And while there are occasional rumors of vengeful spirits here, there aren't many ghosts. How can Uncle Jiu make a living? Uncle Jiu, how about this? My treasure house specializes in selling strange and unusual items, so you can make some amulets, talismans, and charms to ward off evil spirits and sell them in my shop. Bai Yi thought for a moment and said, will that work? Uncle Jiu was tempted. Will it be too much trouble for you? Hey, they're just small matters. Why are you being so polite? Bai Yi said, as the saying goes, at home, you rely on your parents, away from home, you rely on your friends. I need something and I need your help. How could you not help me? Uncle Jiu looked at Bai Yi and said, you're not asking me for help right now, are you? Uncle Jiu, you're so worthy of me. Bai Yi gave him a thumbs up and said, you have a good eye. It's no exaggeration to say you can see the big picture from the small details. Okay, let's get to the point, Uncle Jiu said, rolling his eyes. Considering Bai Yi's previous experience fighting against the armed forces for him, as long as he wasn't helping to harm others, there was basically no problem. Well, Bai Yi scratched his head and said, I heard that the Maotian school has a spell called Palm Thunder. Coincidentally, I've been studying thunder techniques lately, so, the sealed book of the Hidden Cloud Village contained a wealth of lightning-style ninjutsu for him to study, but it lacked one that he coveted, Chidori. Other lightning-style ninjutsu might be just as powerful as Chidori, and some might even be stronger, but Chidori is just so cool. After all, strength is temporary, but coolness is a lifelong thing. And the Palm Thunder technique in Taoist magic is actually very similar to Chidori, so Bai Yi wondered if he could research the Palm Thunder technique and create a Taoist version of Chidori. Uncle Jiu's brows were twisted into the shape of a Chuan character. If it were anything else, it would be easy to talk about, but this matter. I really can't agree to your request. When we entered Maotian, we brothers and sisters knelt in front of the statue of the ancestor and swore an oath. If we reveal the Maotian inheritance, we will have no burial place after death, and our souls will be banished to the 9 travels, never to be reborn. Is it so powerful? Bai Yi was dumbfounded and a little discouraged. Forget it, I'll think about it myself, but, is there still a chance of turning things around? I once had an old enemy named Taoist Toolong. He was from the Laotian sect, but he did some evil things, so I killed him, Uncle Jiu said. On his body, I found a secret book of Taoist magic of the Laotian sect. The Taoist magic of the Laotian sect also includes the Palm Thunder spell. It is different from our Maotian sect, but it is similar. So if you want it, I can give you the Laotian sect's Palm Thunder spell. Uncle Jiu is from the Maotian sect and cannot reveal the secret manuals of the Maotian sect. However, whether the secret manuals of the Laotian sect are leaked or not is none of his business. Who called the Dragon Slayer a fool? He did bad things and still carried the secret manuals of the Laotian sect on him. If there is a soul that is going to go to the underworld, it must be the Dragon Slayer. In fact, the Laotian sect and the Maotian sect are sworn enemies. The disciples of Laotian have always been known for not distinguishing between good and evil and acting recklessly. They claim to respect only the will of heaven and not care about human feelings. Many of the disciples cooperate with the 4 major sects to rob ancient tombs for profit. The Maotian sect is good at finding tombs, feng shui sacrifices, wedding ceremonies, mechanical formations, face reading, fortune telling, reading the 8 characters, calculating good and bad luck, and even changing fate. Taoists from Laotian are accustomed to destroying tombs for profit, while disciples from Maotian meticulously devise strategies to prevent others from digging up graves and ruining their fortunes. Countless members of each faction have died at the hands of the other, and over millennia, their hatred runs deep. Even the combined might of rivers and seas cannot erase it. It's just that I'm manipulating things a bit illegally. You can watch it by yourself, but you absolutely cannot let anyone else know. Do you understand? Uncle Jiu gave Bai Yi a look. Bai Yi understood instantly, a knowing smile spreading across his face. Now, his desired version of the thunder fruit, Chidori, wouldn't be a problem. After meeting with Kingpin and Vanessa, Bai Yi had already exchanged contact information with his eldest brother, Kingpin, and his eldest sister-in-law, Vanessa. Bai Yi was a down-to-earth person. Generally speaking, any man with a beautiful wife was his brother. Of course, I'm face-blind, so sometimes I couldn't tell who was my brother. And for unknown reasons, his eldest sister-in-law, Vanessa, kept sending harassing messages to Bai Yi. Vanessa, Mr. Bye. It was very interesting chatting with you last time. I am looking forward to meeting you next time. Bye. I'm a little busy recently. Besides, Kingpin didn't invite me, so I can't be so shameless as to go to his house myself, right, Vanessa? Then how about I invite Mr. Bye to visit my house? I live alone now. My house is quite big, and there are electronic games for you to play. You are welcome to come to my house and play. When you are tired, just go to sleep, no problem. Bye. That won't do. I'm fine sleeping in my own house, but sleeping in someone else's house is prone to accidents, because I will be very wild on the boat. Vanessa, really, isn't that just right? Bye. Really. The specific performance is like a koala, sleeping for more than 10 hours, Vanessa. Chapter 19. Sing a song and ask where the do is. Director, you looking for me? Callison walked into Nick Fury's office, his hair disheveled, his face downcast and listless. His face was pale with a sallow tinge, his eyes sunken, and he was skin and bones, like someone who had just recovered from a serious illness. The events of the day-night a few days ago had dealt him a heavy blow. Most of the team members he brought with him were seriously injured and dying. The people Callison brought with him usually had to stay in bed for 3 months with their injuries, and those with guns at gunpoint had to stay in bed for a year or two. As for those who dared to open fire, they had basically said goodbye to their careers as agents. Fortunately, they were treated in time, and no one actually died. Otherwise, he simply couldn't survive an SHIELD. Nick Fury personally poured Callison a cup of coffee and said, "What happened before is not your fault. It was a war without war. It was our SHIELD's misassessment of his strength." Callison smiled bitterly and said, "Director, you called me here just to comfort me, right? Let's forget about Uncle Nine's matter. There have been new developments there recently," Nick Fury said. "There is a new task for you to do." Hearing this, the depressed Callison quickly cheered up a little. Recently, Tony Stark and Norman Osborn obtained a magical potion. After research, this potion can replenish the most basic vitality of a person. "It is extraordinary," Nick Fury said. "According to Tony Stark's judgment, this potion may be the key to conquering cancer, so you need to buy this potion back." What? Callison was stunned. "I just offended Bye so much, and now I have to go to his treasure house to buy things? Director, can't someone else do this task? Barton is watching the task over there, and Natasha is still in Europe. There are not many people I can trust," Nick Fury said lightly. "Conflicts are contradictions, and business is business. I think you should be able to tell the difference. This time we placed a super large order. Mr. Bye, our Midtown Circle Financial Company is really sincere. Because of my strenuous persuasion, they increased the bet to $21 million this time," Pharaoh's Birch said passionately. "Think about it, Mr. Bye, your investment of $7 million a year ago has now achieved a return rate of 200%. You have made a lot of money." Bye was flipping through the magazine boredly, and said helplessly, "How many times do I have to tell you? I won't sell my house. Not to mention $20 million. Even if you give me $200 million, I won't sell it. I'll give you one last chance. If you dare to bother me again, I will press your head into the toilet and let you wake up. Do you understand, Mr. Bye? Are you being harassed?" Callison walked in with a spring breeze on his face and said, "Do you need our help?" Seeing Callison, Bye had no expression. "Why are you still coming to me? You don't want the war to continue, do you, Mr. Bye? It was just a misunderstanding last time. I have no other intentions this time. I just come to do business with you," Callison said. Pharaoh's Birch saw the man in the black suit, following Callison and standing outside the treasure house, and seemed to realize that Callison and the others were members of a violent organization. He didn't dare to press his point any further and left in disgrace. "Do business with me." Bye lit a cigarette and said, "Then why don't you sing me a song called Where's the Road?" "Oh, this," Callison said in embarrassment. "I can't sing Chinese songs. How about an English song? You can't even sing a song called Where's the Road. You think you're going to do business with me? Haha, I can do business with anyone, but I won't do business with SHIELD, Bye said indifferently. Callison had anticipated Bye's resistance, but the defining characteristic of agents is their lack of shame. Mr. White Knight, please don't turn me away, Callison said. I'm bringing you a massive order. On behalf of SHIELD, I'm purchasing 100 vials of the life elixir. $1 billion will be transferred to you on the spot. Although I'm known for being sociable and approachable, I wouldn't sell my weapons to my enemies, only to have them use them to kill me, White Knight sneered. He liked money, but not everything. Coulson had no choice but to return home in frustration. Gail sped down the road in a red BMW. She stretched and said, "I've finally covered every street in New York these past few days." Inside the car were 4 women, all of Gail's sisters. "Just a one-off run is a stretch, Gail. You need to be familiar with the roads. Otherwise, if something unexpected happens, it'll be disastrous," Giselle said. She was the leader of the 4-person team. A Brazilian, she was also a stunning beauty, her looks rivaling those of Gail. "Let's put this aside for now. I'm so hungry. Let's go eat," said Pepsi. She was the technical expert in the team, there was no safe she couldn't crack. A Korean woman with a very seductive personality. Leia tossed a potato chip to Pepsi. "Fill yourself." Leia's team was a firearms expert with pistols, rifles, and sniper rifles. The French woman was an icy beauty. Gail, driving the car, called out, "Leia, I want one too." Without a doubt, Gail was the team's driver. Her racing skills were no less impressive than those of a professional. The 4 women spent most of the day in New York preparing for their next plan, returning to their safe house in the evening. I'll be out for a bit. You guys stay home." Back at the safe house, Giselle dressed up, walked out, and said to Gail and the others, "Wow, Giselle's dressed up so beautifully. Who's she going to see?" Gail exclaimed exaggeratedly. Giselle rolled her eyes at Gail and said, "I'm just meeting an ordinary friend." "Alright, enough of this nonsense. I have to go." Giselle strode gracefully out of the safe house and drove straight away. Target. Amway Treasure House. Giselle actually has a friend in New York, and she didn't tell us. "Humph, we're supposed to be good friends," Gail said angrily. Leia glanced at her and said, "Don't you have one too? You didn't tell us either." "What are you talking about?" Gail felt a little guilty. "You went out all day the other day. Do you really think we don't know anything?" She laughed. "I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm going to play some games." Gail fled in a panic, but she muttered to herself, "I wonder what Giselle's friend looks like. Is he as handsome as Bai Knight?" Amway Treasure House. Just as Bai was chatting with Giselle, a rocket with a long flame tail was shot towards Amway Treasure House. Giselle, from Taxi Queen, played by Giselle Bundchen. Chapter 20. Life is short, but some people always want to take shortcuts. A scorching wave of air instantly swept across the room, engulfing everything. Shattered glass flew everywhere. The area at the center of the explosion was completely engulfed. The flames dissipated. Amway Treasure House was a wreck. Shattered glass covered the floor, and the smoke from the exploding rocket filled the air. The lingering flames still burned the carpets and furniture. Hidden in the darkness, more than a dozen men dressed in black, dressed as ninjas, infiltrated the treasure house after the smoke from the rockets cleared. They rushed into Baiyi's bedroom at breakneck speed. "No one, how is that possible?" There was a thermal image of 2 people in the room earlier. The black-clad ninjas, armed with samurai swords and kunai, were bewildered. They had come to assassinate their target, but now he had vanished. What could have happened? Maybe there's a secret door in the room. Look carefully. On the building across from Amway Treasure House, Baiyi and Giselle stood on the edge of the rooftop, looking down at the shattered wreckage of Amway Treasure House. In Baiyi's hand was a compass-like object, dimensional matrix Shangri-La, from the world of Xantong. This space-shifting Imperial artifact features a device capable of instantly moving a target to a predetermined location. Its performance is unmatched among all Imperial artifacts. Baiyi, who have you offended? Giselle warned, a black P-226 already clutched in her hand. A bunch of dead men. A sinister grin played on Baiyi's face. "Giselle, just stand here and don't move. I'll get you some oranges." The next moment, a flash of lightning flashed across Baiyi's body. Visible streaks of lightning continuously slithered across his body, from within and out, a dense, flickering arc of electricity like tiny snakes. "Everyone will die, and some people need a little help," Baiyi muttered, a cruel smile curling his lips. He had always been kind, gentle, modest, and peaceful, yet he had such a cruel heart, willing to do such a cruel thing to someone as pure as a white rabbit. What else is there to say? Just kill him. With a thought, Baiyi's figure vanished from the rooftop. The ninja who hadn't found the secret door in the treasure house and had allowed Baiyi to escape inexplicably said, It seems he's definitely not here. Let's go upstairs and capture his woman to threaten him. Instantly, a blinding flash of lightning, swifter than vision, barreled towards him. A fist, swirling with raging electricity, struck him in the chest. The ninja who had spoken suddenly felt as if he were struck head-on by a galloping rhino. The overwhelming force sent his body slamming against a treasure house wall like a rag doll. His head drooped helplessly, only to see a massive bloody hole in his chest, blood gushing out like a fountain. He had, in fact, been punched through the chest. The other ninjas felt a wave of terror, but before they could draw their katanas, their eyes were already filled with a dark blue lightning. Puff, 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 puff. In a split second, over a dozen ninjas were blasted to pieces by Bai Yi's punches. Limbs flew everywhere, flesh and blood splattered, staining the walls and floor of the treasure house red. Bai Yi stood in the center of the treasure house, his body as straight as a javelin. The lightning wrapped around him slowly dissipated, revealing his imposing figure. He walked over to the ninja whose chest he had initially punched through, pulled a special phone from his space ring, took a photo of the ninja, and sent it. Help me find out who this guy's boss is. Recipient, Nina Dobrev. A technician with the Department of Homeland Security, her hacking skills were among the best in the industry. Similarly, she and Bai Yi had a relationship like Guan Zhong and Bao Shuaya. In the Marvel world, without a few hacker friends, you'd be in trouble. If you were to be murdered, you'd have nowhere to turn. Nina, okay. The next second, Bai Yi appeared in front of Giselle and said with a wry smile, I'm sorry, I'm fine. After all, I do a job that's on the edge of life and death. I encounter dangers of this level once or twice a month, Giselle said, but who did you offend by using an RPG to attack you with such a big scene? Is it serious, Bai Yi? It shouldn't be a big problem. It's just a rocket, Giselle. I'm talking to you about serious business. Why are you still making such a fuss? Giselle couldn't help but punch Bai Yi. If things are serious, you'd better go out and hide for a while. Don't worry, didn't you see how powerful I was just now? Bai Yi smiled and said, I will handle this matter properly myself. Don't worry about me. I hope I won't have to attend your funeral before my work in New York this time, Giselle said. Impossible, absolutely impossible, Bai Yi said. The NYPD and other law enforcement agencies should be here soon. You should leave first. Otherwise, if your face is remembered, your job is over. This matter wasn't over for today. If Bai Yi didn't eliminate everyone involved, his name would be written backwards from now on. Aunt May and the others were also awakened by the sound of a rocket explosion. Bai Yi, what happened? Aunt May hurried over to ask upon seeing Bai Yi return. It's nothing serious. I've taken care of everything. Go to sleep. Trust me, it'll be fine. Aunt May certainly believed Bai Yi. Not wanting to cause him any trouble at this moment, she obediently went to sleep. Only Bai Yi pulled out a soft chair from the rubble that hadn't been destroyed by the bombing, placed it in front of the treasure house, and sat on it, playing a game on his phone as if nothing had happened. About 15 minutes later, Nina sent Bai Yi an email. Bai Yi opened it and read it. The ninja he'd punched through the chest was named Yanagi Osamu, a Japanese native and a member of the Hand, a clandestine assassin organization. He was a close aide to Botu, one of the Hand's 5 leaders. The Hand? Botu, Bai Yi didn't quite understand. Why would these Hand rats be so reckless as to provoke him? But it didn't matter. Regardless of the Hand's motives, they had blown up his room. And they were likely motivated by their desire to kill him. Therefore, this matter wouldn't be over until Bai Yi eradicated the Hand completely. A cold glint flashed in Bai Yi's eyes. Life's a short road, but there are always those who seek shortcuts. Nina, from XXX, Return of Xander Cage, starring Nina Dobrev, is a master hacker. Chapter 21. That humble look is like a dog. Bai Yi calmed down. He was thinking how to eradicate the Hand completely. For an organization like the Hand, it is useless to simply kill a few of their members. They must be completely destroyed to eliminate their threat. The Hand has been rooted in this world for hundreds of years and has a deep foundation. He is not afraid of a head-on battle between the Hand and him. But if the Hand plays dirty tricks on the people around him, he has so many women that he can't even count or remember them, so it is inevitable that he will lose sight of the big picture. Is there any good tool that can be used? After thinking about it, Bai Yi took out his mobile phone and called Kelson. Kelson was still sleeping at this time. He was woken up by Bai Yi's call. He had to force a smile and make himself feel gentler before answering the call. But as soon as Coulson answered the phone, he was scolded. "Coulson, you bastard. Is it because I refused SHIELD's offer of the life elixir that you've sent your men to my door again, and you even bombed my house with an RPG? If I could be killed by an RPG, how could you possibly get it? You bastards, SHIELD, just wait. This isn't over yet. Wait, Mr. White Knight, why am I getting more and more confused?" Coulson said. "We at SHIELD have absolutely no plans against you right now. You've been put on our director's list of untouchables. There must be a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" White Knight roared. "In America, who would bomb a house in a downtown area with a PRG? Who else but SHIELD would be so brazen? Not even the CIA would dare do that, Mr. White Knight, calm down. I'll be right back inside," Coulson said. "Let's talk it out face to face." He immediately put on his clothes. He was actually a little nervous. Could it really be that the agency had done something to White Knight? About 10 minutes later, SHIELD agents drove away the NYPD officers who were cordoning off the scene and proceeded to secure themselves. Coulson approached White Knight and said, "Mr. White Knight, this was definitely not done by SHIELD. However, given our friendly relationship with SHIELD, I will definitely give you an explanation." After confirming that SHIELD had nothing to do with what happened here, Coulson's mind was aroused. His previous misjudgment had created a rift between SHIELD and White Knight. Wasn't this a perfect opportunity to mend their relationship? White Knight's face was impassive. "You say it wasn't SHIELD, so it wasn't SHIELD? Do you think I'm such a fool that I could easily believe you, Mr. White Knight? Think about it. We already had a small misunderstanding before, which gave SHIELD a full understanding of the power you wield. Even if we wanted to deal with you, why would we send such a small number of people and such limited firepower? Isn't that just sending them to their deaths?" Coulson's humble demeanor made him look like a dog. "But by you wasn't buying it. Who knows if SHIELD is deliberately sending these people to their deaths in order to further test my abilities and find a way to kill me?" Coulson's persuasion failed to change Bayou's blunt attitude. Fortunately, SHIELD technicians had made some inferences based on the marks left on the bodies. "Sir, these people's identities point to a hidden assassin group, the Hand," Coulson quickly said. "Mr. Bayou, look, I told you, this is none of SHIELD's business. Who knows if SHIELD hired the Hand to kill me?" Bayou glanced at Coulson and muttered, "So they're from the Hand. I heard their leader is called Five Fingers. No wonder those people cried before they died. I'm just a pioneer. Cut off one head, and two more will grow." So they were talking about Fingers, Coulson, and sent Coulson away, a man who was beginning to doubt his life. Bayou rubbed the special ring on his left hand, lost in thought, as he surveyed his assets. "It's been a while since we've fought, and the arsenal's been completely emptied. It seems like it's time to restock." After saying goodbye to Aunt May, Bayou drove his Chevrolet Camaro out of the house. The drive took over 20 minutes, and Bayou arrived at a warehouse. "Bayou, you haven't come to see me in ages," a blonde woman greeted him with a smile at the warehouse entrance. She wore a light business suit, her long blonde hair flowing freely over her shoulders, a stylish and elegant look. Her skin was a healthy tan, giving her a very sexy look. Victoria Knox was an arms dealer. Facing Victoria's sweet smile, Bayou sighed and said, "I originally wanted to retire from the world, away from all the fighting and murder, but I don't cause trouble, but trouble keeps coming my way. My house was bombed tonight." "Whoever bombed your house is really unlucky," Knox said. "Bayou, you got it wrong. It was my house that was bombed, not me who blew up someone else's, Knox, because I know whoever bombed your house will be in big trouble." "Okay, enough nonsense," Bayou said with a smile. "Have you prepared what I need?" "It's already been prepared." Knox turned and walked inside in her high heels. "Follow me." Bayou followed behind Knox. Inside the warehouse, rows of munitions lay before Bayou. Conventional at-4 rockets, Javelin anti-tank missiles, Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, M4A1 Thor, Mk-14 Mod 1 EBR, Heckler and Koch G36. Bayou selected a number of items he needed and placed them into a space ring. "How much is it in total? Due to our relationship, I'll give you a 20% discount." "Let's give you $3 million, Knox said with a wave of her hand. "Okay." Bayou transferred the money to Knox on the spot and said, "Thanks. I'll treat you to dinner some other time." "Don't do it some other time," Nox said. Tonight, okay, Bai Yi was a little embarrassed. But everyone knew Nox was undoubtedly one of the richest women among the rich, so what else could Bai Yi say? Nox, from The Apprentice, played by Jessica Alba, is an arms dealer. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22, Deceiving the Teacher and Destroying the Ancestors. SHIELD Headquarters. Trident Tower. Are you sure he said that? Nick Fury's single eye widened, nearly popping out. Yes, I've double-checked. Coulson's face was filled with disbelief. Chop off one head, and two will grow. This is the motto of SHIELD's arch-enemy, Hydra. The feud between SHIELD and Hydra dates back to ancient Egypt. It finally came to an end during World War II. During the war, the German Nazi Red Skull, using the Führer's power, established the secretive Hydra organization known only to the public. But with the Führer's defeat, Red Skull betrayed him, plotting to use the energy weapons developed from the Tesseract to achieve world domination. However, the Allies, to counter Hydra, established a strategic scientific corps and, in response to Red Skull's super soldier project, developed Captain America, Steve Rogers. Ultimately, Captain America defeated Red Skull and completely thwarted his plot for world domination. Unfortunately, Captain America paid the price for his talent, his life buried at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean alongside the Tesseract. The remaining Hydra members either surrendered to SHIELD or were imprisoned until their deaths. SHIELD concluded that Hydra had been completely destroyed. Coulson said, "But Director, how could we have wiped out such a massive organization like Hydra? Perhaps some remnants went into hiding, secretly rebuilding Hydra, and the hand was one of their serpentine bodies." Nick Fury fell into deep thought. It's quite possible. World War II wasn't modern society, there were many loopholes for concealing one's identity. Therefore, the remnants of Hydra were almost inevitable. Coulson, notify the intelligence department and gather all the information they can about the hand. Nick Fury finally made up his mind. Also, domination, a major operation is about to begin. Be prepared. Yes, Coulson accepted the order and left, leaving Nick Fury alone in the room, silent and with a deep look in his eyes. Nick Fury had suspected that White Knight had heard the Hydra saying, "Chop off one head, and two will grow back." Knowing the feud between SHIELD and Hydra, he was using this to retaliate against the hand for bombing his home with a rocket. But 9 heads, 5 fingers, all heads. Too suspicious. Anyway, chop off his damn head first. Early morning. White Knight emerged from Victorinox's warehouse. After a brief stroll outside, he got into his Chevrolet Camaro and drove to Colleen's gym last night. While napping with Victoria, Bai Yi suddenly remembered the name Bo-Tu, which he'd heard from Colleen. It seemed Colleen was one of Bo-Tu's disciples. Of course, Colleen described Bo-Tu not as the leader of a murderous gang, but as a kind-hearted elder. Bo-Tu had taken in a group of homeless orphans and taught them survival skills, including martial arts and other survival techniques. The orphans were deeply grateful to Bo-Tu, who had helped them rise from the despised to a place of dignity. Having been in a relationship with Colleen for over a year, Bai Yi knew she was no bad person. She was completely different from the scumbag Bo-Tu, who was two-faced and two-faced. She had been deceived by him. That bastard, still pretending to be a philanthropist. Bai Yi's face curled into a sinister grin. But since you're a philanthropist, there's nothing to hide, right? Then let the disciples who believe in your compassion tell me a little about you as a philanthropist, so I can bask in your saintly light. Arriving at Colleen's gym, Bai Yi wasn't foolish enough to just go straight in. Instead, he greeted Colleen as usual and had a warm-up fight, working up a sweat. "I'll lose again." Colleen shook Bai Yi's hand, stood up, grabbed the nearby bottle of mineral water, and took a deep gulp. Cough, cough. Colleen coughed twice, took the towel Bai Yi handed her, and wiped the sweat off her body. Bai Yi smiled gently and said, "By the way, Colleen, I think I heard you say your teacher's name is Bo-Tu, right?" "Yes," Colleen nodded, taking a breath, and said, "He's one of the people I respect the most." "Colleen, could you introduce me to Master Bo-Tu?" Bai Yi said, "It would be even better if I could have a sparring match with him." Colleen was a little embarrassed and said, My teacher doesn't like polite interactions. I'm afraid he won't choose to meet you, Bai Yi said casually. It's okay. Colleen, just ask for me. Whether it succeeds or not is none of your business, okay? Colleen nodded. With your strength, you really need more sparring to have a chance to reach the next level. We know each other too well. We've been fighting for over a year, and another fight won't help us improve. Then thank you, Colleen. Bai Yi smiled. Why are you being so polite to me? Colleen gave Bai Yi a coquettish look. Haha. Bai Yi laughed a few times and continued, Colleen, can you tell me more about your teacher? I'm really curious about the person who could train such a great master like you. What kind of master am I? Colleen waved her hand modestly and said, Teacher Botu is the real master. Even 3 of us might not be able to defeat him. Although he's very old, his face looks young. This must be the legendary anti-aging. He has obviously mastered the art of martial arts to an extremely high level. Under Bai Yi's deception, Colleen provided him with a lot of important information. However, Bai Yi was also a person who knew how to repay his gratitude. He was sorry for Colleen by betraying his teacher and ancestors, and he would definitely repay her in the future. Chapter 23 Gambler. After Colleen's family left, Bai Yi contacted Kelson and gave him information about the gambler. This bastard, the gambler, was truly a bastard. To expand his power, he deceived gullible people like Colleen, first teaching them martial arts. Then, he dispersed them around the world, identifying orphans living in poverty and neglect. Once Colleen and her friends had honed their skills, he would take them in, further training them, and eventually join his hand assassin gang. It was like a pyramid scheme. The gambler. Humph. I can't kill you. At night, the stars shone brightly, bathing the earth in a silvery glow, a scene of unparalleled splendor. Yet, beneath this beautiful nightscape, a murderous intent lurked. The gambler's lair was a manor in a low-lying area of New York City. It was to conceal his presence, but it also facilitated SHIELD's operations. The SHIELD task force, armed and ready, stood ready. Kelson was in command. He checked his watch, seeing it was the appointed time, and waved his hand. Move. Kelson was also fully armed in the command vehicle. He carried an MP5K, ready to fight if anyone at the Bota Manor displayed extraordinary abilities or a conflict ensued. Despite his gentle exterior, Kelson was an agent. A relentless killer. His combat prowess rivaled, if not surpassed, that of a SHIELD team. Kelson was furious at Botu's practice of recruiting orphans for training and then using them as cannon fodder for his assassination ring. If SHIELD had known about this, even if it had nothing to do with Hydra, they would have taken action against Bota long ago. At Kelson's command, 9 Black Hawk helicopters took off, sealing off Botu's manor from all directions. On the ground, soldiers dismounted from over 20 military Humvees and a dozen SUVs and launched their operation. Near Botu's manor, numerous vehicle-mounted Gatling guns were trained. If Botu's men managed to break free, they would likely be met with a hail of bullets. Snipers first eliminated the guards at Bota Manor. Even creatures like sentries were useless against thermal imaging cameras. Ground forces, in standard combat search formations, weaved in and out, moving towards the planned target. SHIELD unleashed their full firepower, catching the Bota forces unawares and quickly forcing their way into Bota Manor. The people of Bota Manor couldn't be sleeping at this point, and they quickly organized a counterattack against SHIELD. It's true that the Hand is a group of assassins, but when assassins compete with established special forces in combat techniques, haha. Numerous Hand members were killed. Ninjas armed with katanas and hidden kune would clash with soldiers armed with M4A1s, wearing thick body armor, and armed to the teeth. Can you believe it? The Hand's assassins are truly brave. An armed force launched a devastating attack on us, and you haven't received any news? Botu stood by the French window, watching the police constantly breaking into the factory. After hanging up the phone, his face suddenly became ferocious. He turned around and looked at his men. What the hell are you doing? Are the money we give to those police and congressmen just for free, sir? His men said in a hoarse voice. These are not from the NYPD, nor the FBI, nor the CIA, but the legendary SHIELD. SHIELD. Bota knew about this organization. However, what he wanted now was not to know who was attacking him, but how to repel these sons of bitches. The men stammered for a moment, saying, no way. SHIELD's action team is the elite of the elite, no less capable than the Navy SEALs. The Hands assassins are trained in combat. They are proficient with samurai swords and kunai, but not so good with firearms. Besides, Botu's manor didn't have many heavy weapons to use. Piece of shit, Botu, his gaunt frame, displayed explosive power that belied his appearance. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of his henchman. With a snap, he snapped to his neck. He wiped his hands with a towel, then threw it onto the henchman's body. He stared at the SHIELD team with a mixture of anger and confusion. Even if it were SHIELD, they couldn't have struck me with such precision, could they? Could it be, there's an undercover SHIELD agent inside the manor? Forget it, what's the point in pursuing this now? He shook his head. Guess I need to leave America for a while and stay out of the spotlight. Botu looked at his manor. It had taken him over a decade to build, and yet it was destroyed in a single night. Destruction is always easier than construction. Botu's figure faded into the dark shadows. SHIELD's advance was swift, killing many hand members. A handful of men managed to break free, but their despair only deepened as they were met by Gatling gunfire. As the battle neared its demise, another incident erupted within the manor. The orphans and teenagers taken in by the gambler, now united with a hand, launched an attack on SHIELD. SHIELD had some dignity to protect, and couldn't be completely ruthless in eliminating these deceived children. But if they didn't kill them, they would be killed. It was a bit tricky. Carlson and his team had a plan for this obstacle, a barrage of flash grenades, tear gas, and stun guns. How could these children withstand it? Their morale was crushed by the single attack, and they fled in panic. After killing over 100 hand members, Carlson and his team successfully captured the gambler's manor. Has anyone seen the bandit leader, the gambler? Sadly, none of the team members had spotted him. He actually escaped. The gambler that Carlson had been thinking about all the time was now flying at full speed, leaping and running wildly on the buildings outside the manor. He was more flexible and fluent than the craziest extreme sports athlete, and was quickly moving away from the manor. Just when he was about to jump and cross the gap between the two buildings, bang, a sniper bullet was aimed at his heart and shot out. The gambler had a good sense of perception and felt the deadly danger. He was able to twist his body in midair and avoided the fatal blow to his heart, but was shot through the right chest by the sniper bullet. Sniper point. Bai Yi chewed gum. I guess that Carlson, that loser, couldn't take you down, so I've been waiting for you, you bastard. Chapter 24. You and money are not important to me, but not having you is very important to me. After being shot by Bai Yi, the gambler fell from the sky. Bai Yi adjusted his scope, preparing to first blow off his limbs with his sniper rifle before slowly finishing him off. When Bai Yi aimed his scope at the gambler's fall, he saw no sign of him. Hidden, Bai Yi's lips curled up into a smile. I'll see if you can escape from me. He had already locked onto several key points nearby. As long as the gambler didn't show up, he must be hiding in the shadows. Even if he doesn't show up, then let's have a contest of patience. I'm definitely not the one getting anxious. Bai Yi's sniper bullet still pierced the gambler's chest. About 3 minutes later, suddenly, Bai Yi felt a chill at the back of his head. He instinctively lowered his head, dropped his sniper rifle, and rolled to the other side. Looking again, the old silver coin who had attacked him was, as expected, the gambler. The gambler knew a highly skilled sniper was targeting him, and he couldn't escape without first eliminating the sniper. It's you, the gambler's gaze fixed on Bai Yi's face. Clearly, Bai Yi's face, a touch more handsome than most, was highly recognizable. Why are you here? I'm here for revenge, Bai Yi said with a sinister grin. Old man, you haven't forgotten that you sent someone to blow up my house with a PRG yesterday, have you? Of course I remember, but it's hard to believe you're here at this hour, the gambler shrugged. Regarding the bombing of your house last night, I didn't mean to make such a big deal about it, but who told you to be so ungrateful? He looked at Bai Yi with disdain. You could have just sold us your building. You could have taken the money, lived a carefree life, and no one would bother you. But you chose to get yourself killed. Who can you blame? Haha, Bai Yi pursed his lips and smiled. That's quite touching logic, never mind. To reduce the hassles of life? Don't argue with fools. If he argues with you, then, you're right. I just didn't expect that the person who managed to escape alive last night didn't flee, but instead came here to die, the Botu sighed. Young people these days really don't value their lives, due to SHIELD's information blackout. The Botu was unaware of the details of Bai Yi's battle last night, nor of Bai Yi's true power. After a few anti-terrorist plans, his supernatural reactions naturally disappeared. As he spoke, the Botu stamped his feet and launched a punch at Bai Yi with incredible swiftness. Bai Yi ducked, dodging the Botu's punch. Then, raising his palm to his chest, he struck the Botu's chest with incredible speed, the force exploding with a sonic boom. "It seems you've picked up some tricks from Colleen," the Botu chuckled, his expression stern. "But don't you know? Colleen learned all those tricks from me." He didn't have time to tangle with Bai Yi. He stepped forward and struck down with a single punch. The force of the fist enveloped Bai Yi's midline, encompassing his forehead, nose, chest, and abdomen. Bai Yi could hear the thunderous clatter of Botu's punch. Yet, his expression remained impassive. He clenched his fists, his muscles and bones trembling, his abdomen pumping, and a powerful punch exploded. The sound was like thunder and the roar of an elephant. As their fists collided, Botu retreated 7 rapid steps, the pavement crumbling beneath his feet with each step. "Fuck!" Botu's chest felt like it was about to explode, his face flushed. "How is this possible?" Botu stared at Bai Yi in disbelief. How could he lose to a mere brat like Bai Yi in such a clash of strength? He had lived for centuries, honed his martial arts to the highest level, and possessed the power of Qi to strengthen his body. How could he lose to an ordinary man like Bai Yi? "Where do you get your strength? Ordinary people can't cultivate your level of strength," Botu demanded, staring at Bai Yi. Bai Yi chuckled, Guess, never mind. After I kill you, I'll have plenty of time to investigate your secrets." The gambler attacked again, clenching his hands into claws, his knuckles swelling as he clawed at Bai Yi's throat. A surge of wind washed over him. The pores in Bai Yi's throat bulged like the pimples on a toad's skin. However, he reacted quickly, launching a kick like an arrow, aimed at the gambler's vitals. As the gambler dodged, Bai Yi seized the opportunity, clenching one hand into a fist, and smashed it down at the gambler. The gambler then thrust his hands like chopsticks, piercing Bai Yi's eyes. Bai Yi ducked his head to avoid the gambler's attack. He clenched his fist with one hand, then with incredible speed, brought it to his heart. He thrust forward, unleashing a force like a cannonball, piercing the gambler's chest. The two attacked and defended at such a rapid speed that to the average person, only a series of afterimages would have been visible. Bai Yi wasn't in the least bit anxious. After all, he wasn't the one shot in the chest, so he just played along and took his time. The intense exchange lasted for about 3 minutes. The bounty hunter temporarily forced Bai Yi back with a punch. He stared at Bai Yi with hawk-like eyes, and a light wheeze began to form. He felt a deep sense of frustration. He had honed his martial arts and physical abilities for 500 years, yet he was still subtly outmatched by Bai Yi. After all, Bai Yi looked only in his 20s, even if he'd been practicing martial arts since birth, it couldn't have been more than 30 years. And himself? 500 years of practice. Yet, he was being outmatched by a warrior with 30 years' experience. Is there any justice in this world? The bounty hunter looked at Bai Yi, who was in top form, showing no sign of exhaustion at all. Then, he felt a wound in his chest burst open, his strength slowly draining away, and a hint of fear inevitably welled up in his eyes. Is this guy really going to kill me here? But at this point, he absolutely couldn't turn and run. If he left his back to Bai Yi, he wouldn't even have to kill him with a single blow. A sniper rifle would be enough to finish him off. There was no other choice, so the gambler could only choose to take the initiative to make peace. "Boy, you really can't let me go? I'm Colleen's teacher. Speaking of which, in terms of seniority, I'm still your grandmaster. Isn't it just blowing up your house? I've lived for hundreds of years and have a small family business. I still have billions of dollars. As long as you are willing, I can transfer $10 billion to you at any time." Bai Yi smiled. "Do you think money is more important to me, or you are more important to me?" the gambler said without hesitation. "Me." Bai Yi shook his head. "Gambler, it's not money, is it?" Bai Yi smiled. "Think about it again." The gambler pondered for a while. "I am still more important," Bai Yi said seriously. "You and money are not important to me. But not having you is very important to me." Chapter 25. Don't you think it's salty if you eat so much salt? Forget it, you don't seem to have much energy left. We've played this game enough. Bai Yi twisted his body. Let's get serious. Instantly, lightning exploded from Bai Yi's body, arcs of electricity coiling around him like a python. In an instant, Bai Yi's transformation from human to god was complete. Lightning chakra mode. You're actually a psychic. Botu's face turned green. Even with martial arts, he was no match for Bai Yi. Add to that Bai Yi's obviously powerful psychic abilities. Could he really escape today? Bai Yi's dark blue eyes turned to Botu and he smiled. My principle in life is that I won't offend anyone unless they offend me. But if they offend me, I will definitely offend them. You could also say, whoever offends me, Bai Yi, will be punished, no matter how far away they are. Ha ha ha. Botu wiped the blood from his lips and looked at Bai Yi with a sinister look. Young man, you don't really think I'm a dish, do you? I've lived for over 500 years and I've eaten more salt than you've eaten rice. Do you really think I don't have some desperate tactics? Bai Yi tilted his head and said, then isn't it salty from eating so much salt? Botu practically vomited blood. Don't you fucking understand my point? I'm telling you I've lived for over 500 years, and you're asking me if eating so much salt is salty? Fine. Then I'll show you. Is it salty after eating so much salt? He shook violently, his clothes snapping, and the strong wind sent his meticulously groomed hair flying. An overwhelming aura rose from him, an invisible whirlwind that nearly unseated anyone. This was the secret chi of Kunlun, cultivated within him, unleashed in one swift burst. At the cost of subsequent weakness, he gained a brief burst of powerful combat power. Go to hell. With unparalleled momentum, the Botu's foot swirled like a whirlwind. With a single step forward, he leaped like a cheetah pouncing on an antelope. In the blink of an eye, he was 2 steps away from Bai Yi. With both hands, he thrust out a concentrated fist, like a spiraling cone, piercing Bai Yi's chin. Woo woo, the powerful punch echoed through the air with a heart-wrenching sonic boom. Bai Yi, in his lightning chakra mode, shifted slightly, dodging the Botu's attack. However, the Botu, with incredible speed, pounced on Bai Yi again. Botu swallowed the whole thing in one gulp, a long roar erupting from his mouth. In an instant, he was in front of Bai Yi, his 2 arms lashing out violently, striking down at Bai Yi's head. Botu's arms, fueled by his ki and martial arts cultivation, resembled 2 elephant trunks, brimming with terrifying power. Without the thunder fruit, Bai Yi's head, caught between them, might have been instantly destroyed. Is this your last moment of struggle? Come on. Bai Yi's lips curled up. Without hesitation, he channeled his entire body into powerful force. Under the entanglement of high-voltage lightning, the veins in his arms bulged like tiny snakes. Heavy flow burst, AC rank ninjutsu, a powerful blow that concentrates lightning chakra into the fist. The 4th Raikage used heavy flow burst, and with a single punch, he knocked Jugo, who was in curse seal form back to his original form. Bai Yi's fists collided with Botu's. Bang! The next second, there was a cracking sound, blood splattered, and the gambler screamed as he was thrown backwards. His body hit the wall and slid down softly, like a scroll detached from a wall. Beneath his right sleeve was a bare space, his arm a bloody mess, broken bones and flesh scattering everywhere, a cacophony of red and white. No. Don't kill me, please let me go. I can give you anything you want. I can give you lots of money. I can even help you achieve immortality. If you'll spare my life, I'll serve you, the gambler shouted at the approaching Bai Yi, fearing that a second too late would mean he'd have no chance to speak again. Haha, a piece of shit like you, being my slave, I'd be damned if I didn't, Bai Yi sneered, his fist gleaming with lightning. If there's a next life, remember to be a good person. Bang! Bai Yi's punch shattered the gambler's head, sending red and white objects flying everywhere. Huh? Bai Yi let out a breath. 1 down. The next 4 guys, just wait for my kill. Looking at the headless corpse of the gambler, Bai Yi rubbed the space ring on his left hand, and a bucket of gasoline appeared on his hand. He poured the gasoline over the gambler's body. Throwing away the barrel of oil, Bai Yi took out a lighter, lit a cigarette for himself, and then threw the lighter into the gambler's hand. He vaguely remembered that the hand had a method of resurrecting the dead, so leaving the gambler's body with this person was not safe. What if the gambler was in this state and could still be resurrected? Kill, crush bones, and scatter ashes, all without compromise. What do you want to do? A voice suddenly called out. Bai Yi turned and saw a figure wearing a dark red tights, a horned hood, and holding a stick, emerging from the dark shadows. I'm going to burn his body, Bai Yi asked doubtfully. Is there a problem? The man, who looked like Daredevil, raised his stick towards Bai Yi and said, Although he may be guilty, death is already the greatest punishment for him. Continuing to desecrate his corpse doesn't demonstrate your justice, Bai Yi. So, after the LGBTQ+ community, even the dead have human rights? I didn't say I'm a good person, or that I have to uphold justice or injustice, Bai Yi said, spreading his hands. I just want to feel good. A man who adopted a large number of homeless, already pitiful orphans, then used them as cannon fodder and assassins, killing perhaps tens of thousands of people. Shouldn't such a person be pulverized and scattered after death? And someone actually wants to protect his right to his body? Are they crazy? Matt Murdock is a devout Christian. In Christian and Catholic tradition, a person's body cannot be dismembered or their organs removed after death. Catholics originally believed that if a body is amputated or damaged, the soul is also damaged. Similarly, he also adheres to the Christian doctrine that no one can take another's life, so he never kills. When Bai Yi killed someone, he wanted to jump out to stop him, but unfortunately he was a step too late. Now it seems that Bai Yi is going to do something even more extreme. He must stand up. I will stop you, Matt Murdock said sternly, holding the long stick across his chest. So, Bai Yi said to the man in a very elegant and easygoing tone, excuse me, you are an idiot, right? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.